Family cultivation. My mobile phone traveled through time. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276 Limit. Boom boom boom. In the martial arts arena, Xuanji activated the King divine form, and the shackles of his body were suddenly opened. The upper limit of his physical body was opened. The upper limit of his mana was opened. The upper limit of his soul was opened. And the upper limit of his cultivation was opened. And his cultivation was forcibly increased to 12 times. But at the same time, his body also fell into chaos. His blood was in chaos. His heart beat faster, and everything in his body became chaotic and disordered. It only lasted for 3 seconds, and his body exploded again. While repairing his body, Xuanji's face turned pale, but he showed a hint of joy when he sensed his body, because the upper limit of his mana was increased. It's like a water tank that can only hold a limited amount of water. If you add more water to it, the water will only overflow and cannot be carried by the water tank. But now, the volume of the water tank has expanded and can hold more water. After performing the King divine form, his mana upper limit only increased by 1/10 of his mana, but this is a good thing. When his injuries were healed and his blood and ki were restored, Xuanji took out the middle grade spirit stone and began to absorb. But later, he felt that the speed of the middle grade spirit stone was too slow, so he directly used the upper grade spirit stone to absorb, speeding up the absorption efficiency and increasing the amount of energy. In this way, the examination entered a boring stage, urging the Emperor's divine form to enter the extreme limit of the explosion. After the extreme explosion, he began to recuperate, restore his blood and ki, and then refine the spirit stone and transform it into a trace of mana. He used the Emperor's divine form once a day, but not often. Frequent use will cause damage to the origin and cause irreparable harm. Time is passing, and in the blink of an eye, another 20 years have passed. Is it the limit? Xuanji urged his flesh body, which exuded pure yang treasure light. A punch had great power, but his flesh body could resist the 4th grade spirit treasure. The amount of mana was increased to 120 jazi, and the quality of mana was infinitely close to the 3rd turn of the golden elixir. The power of the soul was increasing, and he could lift 800 kilograms. In terms of spirit, energy, and spirit, he far surpassed the average peak of the purple mansion. The so-called perfection of spirit, energy, and spirit, for him, no longer has much reference value. The physical body has reached its limit. The mana has reached its limit. Even if the King divine form is activated, it can't increase it a little bit. Only the limit of the soul is still far away. Compared with the powerful physical body and the magnificent mana, the soul is relatively weak. Some questions are in the unknown area. I need to ask Xia for advice. Xuanji thought, and in a flash, he left the Lu family and went to Xiang Mountain. When he arrived at Xiang Mountain, Jinzi asked curiously, "Hey, you have entered the half-step golden elixir, but it is only a half-step golden elixir." "That's not right. With your qualifications, the so-called golden elixir bottleneck can't be difficult for you at all. I haven't seen you for 50 years. You should be a golden elixir." "There is a problem," Xuanji said. Jinzi said nervously, "What happened?" "Before you achieved the golden elixir, when your spirit, energy, and spirit were perfect, how much mana was there? How much mana was there? How much was the quality of the mana? How much was the strength of the physical body? And how much was the strength of the soul?" Xuanji asked and answered. "This." Jinzi pondered and recalled, and said, "Before the perfection of the golden elixir, the amount of my mana was 60 jazi, the quality of my mana was the 2nd turn of the golden elixir, the strength of my physical body was comparable to that of a 3rd grade spiritual weapon, and the strength of my soul could lift a weight of 300 kilograms. My foundation is so deep that it is rare in Zhangzhou." "Really? Then look at me." Xuanji didn't say anything, but waved his hand and punched Jinzi in counterattack. After only 3 moves, Jinzi sensed the change in her lover, with a look of horror in her eyes. "How can you be so strong?" Xuanji withdrew his hand and stood, saying calmly, "I want to know, where is the limit?" "The limit? Xuanji said, all cultivators have secrets, and many secrets are kept secret, such as a cultivator's trump card, his past adventures, his own mana quantity, mana quality, physical strength, life magic weapon, etc. These are all secrets. As for where the limit of a cultivator is, I don't know. However, I have heard from the predecessors that the way of heaven begins with 1 and ends with 9. 9 is a small perfection, and 12 is a great perfection. 12 is perfection, and it is also the extreme. The so-called immortal body is only close to the extreme, but it cannot surpass the extreme. Xuanji, you are just a pure Yang Taoist body. According to the great calculation, the maximum mana is 50 Jazi. Even if you keep polishing, 80 Jazi is the extreme. But you are actually 120 Jazi, breaking too many limits, too many. Really? Xuanji smiled and said, if you want to learn, I can teach you. Really? Isn't there a limit? Xuanji asked curiously. No. Because, this is my own creation. Xuanji said, and began to talk about, and King Divine Form. At the beginning, Xuanji was very interested, but when he heard the end, he frowned and said, you are using a suicidal method. If you are not crazy, how can you break the shackles? Xuanji said. Xuanji said, you are right, it is I who lack some courage. However, the Ant King Divine Form can only be exerted at its strongest in your hands. In my hands, it can only burst out 5 times the cultivation. Afterwards, I was seriously injured and dying, and I needed high quality spiritual medicine to heal my injuries. How far am I from the limit? Xuanji asked. Xuanji was silent, and after thinking for a moment, he said, your foundation is very strong now. As for how strong it is, I can't describe it. But it is obvious that your soul is a little weak. Your soul has become your shortcoming. Soon, the Yin Yang secret realm will begin. Is there an opportunity for you there? Xuanji said, what is the Yin Yang secret realm? Xuanji said, this is a secret realm of the Hehuan demon sect. When I took out the secret realm, I obtained the Liang Yi illusionary body. To be precise, I only obtained the Liang Yi body of the upper volume, but I didn't get the illusionary body of the lower volume. Now there are still flaws in the practice. As he spoke, he pointed his finger, and the information about the Liang Yi illusionary body came. Digesting this information, and thinking about the information sent by Kingli and Daochen, Xuanji couldn't help but sigh that women are too good at lying. At the beginning, King Lian told him about the Liang Yi illusionary body, but only half of it, and there were some adulterations, and the key part was omitted. The Yin Yang illusionary body is divided into 2 volumes. The first volume is about the Yin Yang body, which tells how to evolve the second clone. The main body carries emotions, and the clone carries reason. The second volume is about the illusionary body, which tells the way of disillusionment of life and death. Even if the clone dies in battle, it can be revived with the help of the original body, or if the original body dies, it can be revived with the help of the clone. But now there are only the Yin Yang body, no illusionary body. If one of the 2 falls, it is a complete fall. Chapter 277, Yin Yang Secret Realm, heading to Yu Kingdom. In the hall, a man and a woman sat opposite each other. Xuanji said, my soul is a little far from the limit. Do you have some soul elixirs to raise the upper limit of my soul? No, really not. Even if you sell me, I still don't have it. Xuanji smiled and said, if there were such elixirs, I would have eaten them long ago. Why would I leave them behind? At that time, my magic power was 50 Jazi. After taking the 5th grade elixir, my magic power limit was raised to 60 Jazi. I also took the family's 6th grade soul nourishing elixir, and my soul was raised from 200 katis to 300 katis. At that time, I began to impact the golden elixir instead of polishing my spirit. One was at the limit, and the other wanted to break the limit. The elixirs and elixirs I needed were simply not available to me. Your soul has turned into a silk thread, which can lift 800 katis of weight. If you want to raise the upper limit of your soul, ordinary elixirs are useless. You need at least the Medicine King level, or even the Medicine King. You also need the semi-immortal medicine level. There are only a few places with such elixirs, and they are all in the hands of the great masters of Hedao and Uji. I don't have them. Xuanji said, what a pity. Xuanji said, the great way is imperfect. How can people be perfect? If you blindly pursue perfection and ignore the conditions of reality, you will fall into the devil's barrier. You have a deep foundation, and ordinary treasures are of little use to you. But there is a secret realm in the territory of U State, called Yin Yang Secret Realm, with a lake inside, which may be good for you. In the Yin Yang Secret Realm, there is the phantom body of the second volume. If you can't find it, it's the best. If you can't find it, it doesn't matter. If so, I will go to Jiandao to survive the tribulation, Xuanji said. But at this time, he stopped talking. The last time he survived the tribulation, Jiandao was attacked by the heavenly tribulation. It was already shaky, and it should be destroyed now. In the perception of Chunayangling, Jiandao has been completely destroyed and turned into dust. Xuanji smiled and said, ordinary cultivators, at the moment of half-step golden elixir, can have at most 6 or 8 Jiazi of mana. A few geniuses, if their families are a little rich, can have more than 20 Jiazi of mana. As for the heavenly spiritual roots, at least 30 Jiazi of mana. If they have special physical bonuses, they can be increased to 40 or 50 Jiazi. According to my estimation, even if you have the bonus of pure Yang Dao body, you can only have 50 Jiazi at most. If you take some elixirs, to increase the upper limit, it can only be 60 Jiazi at most. But you have 120 Jiazi. Obviously you have a great adventure, and such an adventure is almost impossible to replicate. Xuanji did not respond, but asked other questions. Yin Yang Secret Realm is a secret realm of the Hehuan demon cult, located in U State. It opens once every 30 years. There are some inheritances of the magic way in the secret realm, as well as some spiritual treasures, spiritual medicines, etc., but most of them have been looted. The remaining treasures, spiritual medicines, etc. seem to be quite useless for Jiandan cultivators, but they are still very attractive to Zifu cultivators. Every time the secret realm opens, there will be purple mansion cultivators entering it, looking for opportunities, looking for some inheritance, and looting some spiritual medicine. There are about 3 years before the Yin Yang secret realm opens. In this way, Xuanji lives in Xiang Mountain, and continues to polish his foundation. The physical body has reached its limit, and the magic power is also the limit. Only the soul has the possibility of improvement. Time is passing, and 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. After 3 years of polishing, the soul has only improved a little bit. Polishing the soul seems to be more costly than gain, and proving the golden elixir is the best choice. Let's go, Xuanji said. Okay. Xuanji nodded. The two left quietly, and went to U State. U State is a country of demon cultivators. Here, there are a large number of demon cultivators who practice demon skills, and are denounced as a demon country by righteous cultivators. In the territory of U State, there are 3 major demon sects, namely the White Bone Demon Sect, the Yellow Spring Demon Sect, and the Hehuan Demon Sect. The 3 major demon sects dominate everything in U State. There had been many wars with the Chu State, with countless casualties, but the Chu State was unable to do anything to the U State. Silently, the two entered the territory of the U State. In the territory of the U State, the people lived and worked in peace and contentment, and all industries were prosperous. Mortals and monks lived together, which seemed quiet and harmonious. In terms of stability of order and social stability, even the luminous stone of the Chu State was far inferior. As the saying goes, a rabbit does not eat grass near its nest. Although the U State is a demon country, the people at the bottom still live well. Those demon sect leaders also banned demon cultivation and wantonly killed people to practice demon skills. Xuanji disguised himself as an ordinary cultivator, walking on the street, to introduce the situation of the U State. As for the cultivation of the demon cultivators, some of the corpses, souls, furnaces, etc. they need, were obtained in the war with the state of Chu, and some were obtained in the war with the demons. Over the years, the rules of the demon cultivators have become more and more strict, and even the wars with the state of Chu have become much less frequent. Instead, they have launched many attacks on the Xuan Mountains, fought against the demons, and hunted monsters to practice magic. Xuanji laughed. I didn't expect that the demon cultivators would also fight for the human race. Those demon cultivators not only fight for the human race, but there are also many people of great virtue and kindness. Xuanji said, as the saying goes, the demon cultivator becomes a Buddha, puts down the butcher knife, and becomes a Buddha on the spot. Putting down the butcher knife means putting down the butcher knife in your heart, the obsession in your heart, and atone for your sins. It is not terrible to say that you put down the butcher knife, but what is terrible is to put down the butcher knife in your heart. It is not terrible for some villains to become hypocrites with false benevolence and false righteousness. What is terrible is to become gentlemen with true benevolence and true righteousness. Xuanji listened and felt funny. Could it be that tigers can also eat vegetarian food and chant Buddha? In the way of the devil, there are methods of small devils and methods of big devils. Xuanji said, the method of small devils is to kill people and refine corpses, kill people to take blood, collect and replenish furnaces, and refine magic banners. They take the path of killing to prove the truth, and are often entangled in karma and die in the catastrophe. The method of big devils is to become a devil through obsession, ideals, and madness. This kind of cultivator is extremely terrifying. In the state of Chu, the demon cultivators you met are just small demons, just insignificant demon cultivators. Most of them are unable to overcome the catastrophe and prove the truth to the golden elixir. Even if some of them prove the truth to the golden elixir, they are weak and pitiful, not to be feared. But some people, however, have evolved their own supreme magic skills and opened up the supreme magic path, such as Emperor Huanquan, Old Demon Hehun, Demon Lord Beigu and so on. Even in the fairy world, they are well-known supreme demons, shocking an era and intimidating the heroes of the world. In the demon sect, menial disciples and outer disciples are just cannon fodder. Most inner disciples are qualified to advance to the golden core stage. But the true disciples all have the qualifications to reach the nascent soul stage. The demon sect is easy to enter, but easy to leave. You have to be careful. Chapter 278 6 Desires Demon Lord, Entering the Secret Realm. Then, Xuanji talked about some secrets of magic cultivation. Some magic cultivators only obtained a few magic skills and began to practice. This kind of magic cultivation is called scattered magic. Some cultivators joined the big magic sects, practiced systematically, and comprehended the magic classics, and became orthodox magic cultivators. Orthodox magic cultivators, whether in potential, combat effectiveness, comprehension of the Great Way, or comprehension of spells, are better than ordinary scattered magic. Those big magic sects adhere to the rule of easy entry and strict exit. As long as you practice magic skills, you can be considered a menial disciple, but if you want to become an outer disciple, you must build a foundation. If you want to become an inner disciple, you must at least become a golden elixir. As for becoming a true disciple of the magic sect, you must at least have the cultivation of the nascent soul, or have the potential of the nascent soul. In this regard, the magic sects are more strict than the immortal sects. What is the yin-yang secret realm? Xuanji asked. The yin-yang secret realm is a relic of the ancient Hehun demon vein. It is said to be a ruined cave. Xuanji said this with a strange smile. In ancient times, the Hehun demon sect was just an insignificant small sect, but it gave birth to the supreme giant demon Hehun Old Demon. When the demon emperor was alive, naturally no one dared to provoke the Hehun demon sect. But after the demon emperor ascended, countless major forces jointly besieged the Hehun demon sect, and countless demonic classics were scattered everywhere. Subsequent strong men successively claimed that they had obtained the inheritance of the Hehun demon emperor, and some major demon sects were established one after another. There is the Hehun demon sect in U-State, the Hehun demon sect in Zhangzhou, the Hehun demon sect overseas, and the Hehun demon sect in the far north. There are about dozens of sects under the banner of the Hehun demon sect. The weakest sect is only guarded by Euroing, but some powerful Hehun demon sects are guarded by Hedao strongmen. These Hehun demon sects in various places are collectively called the Hehun demon vein. In other words, the Hehun demon vein of U-State is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Xuanji said. That can't be said, because the Hehun demon sect of U-State has inherited part of the Hehun demon's disciples. Its fundamental skills are the 6 desires in the Red Dust Sutra, which is considered the Hehun demon vein. Xuanji said, legend has it that the founder of the Hehuan sect of U State was a shepherd boy when he was young. While shepherding, the sheep got lost. The shepherd boy was looking for the lamb, and while walking, he fell into the yin-yang secret realm. He inherited the heritage in the ruins, and embarked on the path of cultivation. He cultivated all the way, to become a powerful god-transforming cultivator, and opened up the Hehuan demon sect in U State. At the beginning, U State and Chu State were originally one, but this old demon cultivator of the god-transforming cultivator launched a war, and defeated the Chu State coalition forces. Chu State had no choice but to withdraw 1/3 of the area and cede it to this old demon cultivator of the god-transforming cultivator. So there is a current U State. Xuanji said a little nervously. In U State, there is a god-transforming cultivator in charge. Yes, Xuanji said, but you don't have to worry too much. According to legend, this old demon cultivator of the god-transforming cultivator has been traveling or in seclusion. There has been no news for 1,000 years. The two chatted, but their speed was not slow at all, and they moved forward to the place where the secret realm was. When they arrived at the entrance of the secret realm, a group of cultivators had already gathered here. True Lord Xiu, you are here to join in the fun. At this moment, a hearty voice came, and looking in the direction of the voice, it was an old man of the golden core stage, with white hair and beard, a burly body, holding a huge axe in his hand, and a strong aura. There is a junior who happened to reach a certain level, and happened to enter it. It is said that he can get an opportunity. Xuanji smiled, but said, Xuanji, this is Sun Wei, the elder of the Wu Kingdom's beast taming sect. Why don't you come forward to greet him? Greetings to Elder Sun. Xuanji stepped forward and said respectfully, with vigorous ki and blood, you are only one step away from entering the golden elixir stage. The young are formidable. Elder Sun said with a smile, and then he stepped forward and said, I would like to congratulate you here for entering the realm of the true Lord. You can expect longevity. Old Sun has an extraordinary talent, and you are not far from the nascent soul stage. Soon, we will be Taoist friends again. Xuanji said with a smile. As for what you said, let's not mention it. After another conversation, Sun Wei stepped aside. One after another, cultivators came forward to pay homage to the true Lord. The nascent soul masters, whether from the demonic path, the righteous path, or the demon clan, are all top bosses, enough to arouse their awe. Xuanji talked a few words with some, and some just nodded. At the same time, Xuanji communicated with his mind, and introduced some of the surrounding sects. A group of monks in simple clothes with beast controlling bags on their waists, that is the beast controlling sect. A group of monks wearing battle armor, with burly bodies, emitting hot blood, like a big sun, this is the flame sect. A group of female monks, 100 flowers competing for beauty, some are charming and enchanting, some are pure and lovely, some are elegant and gentle, and some are delicate and innocent. This is the 100 flower sect. There is also a group of monks, a man and a woman leaning against each other, intimate and tender. This is the Hehuan demon sect. There is also a group of monks, although they have transformed into human form, they are full of demonic energy. This is the demon monks. With the opening of the yin-yang secret realm, the Yu Kingdom, the Chu Kingdom, the Yu Kingdom, the demon clan, overseas monks, etc., have come to this secret realm under the leadership of their predecessors. The small number of people is only 2 or 3, the large number of people is 20 or 30. Seeing that the time was almost up, at this moment, a female cultivator from the Hehuan sect stepped forward and said, this secret realm belongs to the Hehuan demon vein. After being transformed by the founder, the Six Desires Demon Lord, it became a supreme paradise. Our Hehuan sect does not intend to eat alone, but if you want to enter this secret realm, each person must pay 100,000 spirit stones. As for the opportunities inside, and the treasures seized, they all belong to the individual. If you obtain the skills, you can exchange them with our Hehuan sect, and you will get corresponding rewards. Everyone, please come in. The female cultivator stood at the entrance of the secret realm, and began to charge. Many cultivators came forward one after another, paid 100,000 spirit stones, and entered the secret realm. 100,000 spirit stones are just a small thing for the Purple Mansion cultivators. No one wanted to be a deadbeat. Even Lu Xuanji paid 100,000 spirit stones, then stepped onto the teleportation array and entered the secret realm. The void was changing, and the next moment, Lu Xuanji appeared in a world. What came into view was a big mountain, with a river flowing in the distance, and a medicine garden in the distance, rich spiritual energy, the fragrance of plants and trees, and some running spiritual beasts. The divine sense sensed that the area of this secret realm was only 1,000 square kilometers. There were 12 medicine gardens in the secret realm, and the medicine gardens had a large spirit gathering formation. The smallest spiritual medicine was 3,000 years old, and the largest was 30,000 years old. After being transformed by the 6 desires demon lord, this secret realm became a medicine garden of the Hehuan demon sect. The cultivators of other sects were allowed to enter, snatch spiritual medicines from each other, and kill each other, so as to hone the cultivators of the Hehuan demon vein. Chapter 279 Lake of Life and Death. In the Yin Yang secret realm, in some locations of the medicine garden, life and death battles are taking place. The competition in the demon sect is extremely fierce, much more cruel than that of the righteous sects. In the righteous sects, as long as the contribution points are handed in, they can be exchanged for spiritual medicines, elixirs, etc. But in the demon sect, one must go through fighting and bloody battles before exchanging elixirs. The Yin Yang secret realm has been studied many times by the 6 desires demon lord, and all the treasures in it have been taken away, and it has been transformed into a medicine garden. Originally, some monks could be sent here to collect herbs regularly, and then use these elixirs to refine elixirs and supply them to the monks of the sect. But the Hehuan demon sect insisted on letting the monks of other sects come in and experience life and death battles before they could pick spiritual medicines. Every time they picked herbs, many monks died here, which can be described as bloody and brutal. Lu Xuanji took a rough look and did not go down to snatch the spiritual medicine. Because there was no need, these spiritual medicines are mainly suitable for Purple Mansion monks, which can help Purple Mansion monks lay the foundation, expand the danshan, and increase the upper limit, which has great benefits for the perfection of spirit, energy, and spirit. Unfortunately, it is almost useless to him. Just as Xuanji said, his foundation is too strong, which makes ordinary spiritual medicines of little effect on him. Only some medicine kings and even semi-immortal medicines are useful to him. But here, there is nothing at all. If there really is, it would have been snatched away by the 6 desires demon lord. In the Yin Yang secret realm, there are 2 ruins. One is the transmission hall and the other is the life and death lake. In Xuanji's description, these 2 ruins are good for him and may help him improve the upper limit of his soul. Of course, they may fail. His footsteps flashed, and in just a moment, he arrived at a valley. In front of the valley, there is a stone tablet, which reads, "The Yin Yang Eye of Life and Death, formed by the condensation of the 2 energies of life and death. They complement and restrain each other, and contain supreme fortune and great opportunities. If you are not qualified enough, have insufficient potential, and are not strong enough, it is best not to enter. It is useful for Purple Mansion cultivators, but not at all for Golden Core cultivators." In front of the valley, some Purple Mansion monks wanted to enter, but they were hit by a strange force and were rejected. Lu Xuanji stepped forward and felt a strong force repelling him when he approached the valley. This force surged, as if to push him out. Lu Xuanji urged his strength to resist the force of repulsion. Crack, crack. The force of repulsion was constantly increasing, and the force on Lu Xuanji's body was also increasing. Boom, boom, boom. His heart was beating faster, and his blood was bursting, emitting bursts of precious light, as if a crystal light was rising from his body, blooming with a trace of terrifying pressure. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. When he reached the 108th step, the force of repulsion suddenly disappeared, and his body was shaking, almost falling to the ground. He circulated his ki and stood firm. I saw a lake in front of me. The diameter of the lake was about 10 kilometers. It was black and white. The black lake water had a strong aura of death, and the white lake water had a strong aura of life. The 2 mixed together to present a Teikai pattern. With a flash of his figure, Lu Xuanji entered the lake and landed at the dividing line between yin and yang. Whoosh! Suddenly, the lake started to move automatically, and the two auras of life and death began to run wild, and began to move around his body. With the erosion of death, the vitality of Xuanji's body was dissipating, and his body was like a dead tree, and the vitality gradually dissipated. At the moment, when the death aura was extremely dense, a stream of vitality surged and entered his body, and the vitality continued to flourish. But as the vitality became extremely strong, it fell into endless silence again. The two auras of life and death continued to move in the body, constantly moving violently, constantly transforming life and death. And life and death continued endlessly. At the beginning, he was panic-stricken, but as his mind became calm, he began to comprehend the mystery of life and death, and gradually gained a new understanding. Dead air represents death. Live air represents repair. With the threat of dead air, the body feels the danger and evolves madly, resisting death and subconsciously raising the upper limit of life. When the dead air squeezes the body to the extreme, the live air enters the body to repair the injury, allowing the injury to heal and strengthen the upper limit. Under the rotation of the two airs of life and death, the body is raised to a higher limit, and has a new understanding of death. Everyone in the world is afraid of death, but it is precisely because of fear that people are unwilling to die after 100 years. So there is the path of cultivating immortals. The purpose of cultivating immortals is to live forever, that is, to fear death. It is not shameful to be afraid of death. If you are not afraid of death, why cultivate immortals? The threat of death is the driving force of life evolution. Many cultivators, when they encounter bottlenecks and find it difficult to break through, will fight a life and death battle, threaten themselves with death, stimulate their instinctive desire to survive, and thus break the shackles of the flesh and the shackles of the bottleneck. Because they are afraid of death, they have to face death head on. With the enlightenment of the mind, looking at the lake again, I vaguely saw that at the bottom of the lake, there were lines of life and death Dao patterns, and the life Dao patterns and death Dao patterns were intertwined with each other, interpreting the mystery of life. The flesh was ready to move, and the pure Yang Dao body was automatically operating, absorbing the vitality to strengthen itself. When the vitality grew to the extreme and the ki and blood were somewhat out of control, the death ki was used to polish the vitality and blunt its edge, and the violent vitality became gentle, absorbing the two energies of life and death, and tempering the body with the help of the two vital energies. The blood and ki of the body are improving, and the body seems to have reached its limit, and can no longer be improved. The excess blood and ki are constantly running, feeding back to the soul. The spirit, energy, and spirit are the three treasures of the human body. When some aspects are extremely huge, they will feed back to the relatively weak side. At this time, the blood and ki of the body, the manner of the danshan, etc., are feeding back to the soul, and promoting the soul to improve. 10 days later, Xuanji walked out of the lake. The origin of the soul was improving, increasing by more than 100 kilograms, and forcibly increasing by 900 kilograms. With flashing steps, Xuanji went to the inheritance hall. After a while, he arrived at the inheritance hall. The inheritance hall was originally a broken hall, but after being repaired by the 6 Desires Demon Lord, it became a gorgeous hall. At the door of the hall, an old man sat upright. His eyes seemed to be open and closed, like a sculpture half motionless. Some monks entered the hall at the door. Following the crowd, Xuanji also entered the hall. In the center of the hall, there is a stone tablet with 3 characters engraved on it. Skill Transmission Tablet. Chapter 280. The cell phone reappears. After entering here, monks gradually sat in front of the stone tablet, touched the stone tablet with a trace of divine thought, and then closed their eyes to comprehend. The stone tablet will sense the monk's physique, comprehension, skills, etc., and give the corresponding skills. Of course, it is more likely that nothing will be gained. In the past, the 6 Desires Demon Lord was a shepherd boy. It was when he entered here and touched the stone tablet that the stone tablet passed down the skills, named 6 Desires Red Dust Sutra. From then on, a generation of transformation demon lords rose. Later, monks entered here and discovered new skills. Some of the skills engraved in the inheritance stele have extremely high requirements for physical fitness and comprehension. If the requirements are not met, the skills in the stele cannot be taken out. If the skills are forcibly extracted, the stele will be broken. The Six Desires Demon Lord is extremely envious of some of the skills in the stele, but is afraid that violent extraction will cause damage to the stele. So, the sword stele was very generously announced. Outsiders can also enter here and comprehend the stele. However, when comprehending the stele, you need to swear an oath. The skills in the stele can be practiced by yourself, but they cannot be passed on to others. You also need to join the Hehuan Demon sect and at least become a guest elder. Back then, Xia comprehended the stele and obtained the Liang Yi body, which alarmed the head of the Hehuan Demon sect. Afterwards, Xia presented the method of practicing the Liang Yi body and placed it in the library of the Hehuan Demon sect. The Hehuan Demon sect gave Xia a token and became a guest elder of the Hehuan Demon sect. To some extent, the Six Desires Demon Lord is Xia's backer. Xuanji pondered. Cultivation is not easy, and mutual support is needed. What is human connection? Human connection is not a one-sided need of someone, but a need of each other. No one can guarantee that he will be invincible for his whole life, nor can anyone guarantee that he will not ask for help for his whole life, and no one can guarantee that he will not need help from others for his whole life. Because of need and being needed, human connection was born. Therefore, there are seniors who often support juniors and give them some help. Such investment may not be obvious in the early stage, but in the later stage, it can achieve unexpected results. Thinking about it, I thought of Xuanji's support for him, and then I thought of the support of the Six Desires Demon Lord for Xuanji. This support may be just a chess piece dropped casually, but it is of great help to the lower level cultivators. After the Six Desires Demon Lord gave the token, it disappeared. There is no other information. But with this token, it intimidates a group of people. In Chu state, Xuanji is only a giant and cultivator, but no Yuanying cultivator dares to step forward and oppress him, just borrowing the tiger skin of the Six Desires Demon Lord. Condensing his distracting thoughts, Xuanji sat aside, and a trace of divine thought touched the stone tablet. Suddenly, the void was changing, and entered the stone tablet. In the stone tablet, there were 9 light balls, representing 9 kinds of exercises. Among them, 2 light balls were dim, and the contents inside disappeared. There were 7 other light balls flashing with light, recording some scriptures. 6 Desires Sutra, Red Dust Sutra, 2 Yin Illusionary Body, Years Sutra, Void Sutra, Anti-2 Yin Sword Formation, Red Dust Reversal Formation. He kept touching the light balls, but the light balls were insensitive and difficult to resonate. Xuanji opened his eyes and thought. At this moment, a young man stood up next to him, lost his soul, and sighed. It's a pity, I didn't understand. It's a pity that my attributes don't match. Another girl stood up. One after another, cultivators stood up, disappeared with a sense of loss. The old man at the door looked at this scene and closed his eyes again. Many monks come here to comprehend every year, but they can gain very little. Up to now, among the 7 volumes of scriptures, only the 6 Desires Sutra, Red Dust Sutra, and half of the 2 Yin Illusionary Body have been unlocked. As for the other scriptures, they are still blocked. The 6 Desires Demon Lord opened the inheritance hall to unlock the remaining scriptures with the help of a destined person, but unfortunately, he did not meet the destined person. Closing his eyes, Xuanji once again sensed with his mind. Inside the stone tablet, 7 light balls were undulating and constantly changing. But he still couldn't touch the information inside. It seemed that he had no fate with it, and he was not the destined person. I don't believe it. Mobile phone, scan. At this moment, Xuanji urged the mobile phone, and a golden light flashed on the mobile phone, shining on the light ball, silently breaking the seal, and recording the information inside. No, the seal on the light ball still exists at this moment. But the mobile phone bypassed the seal, and recorded the information inside. After 10 breaths, Xuanji opened his eyes. Looking at the stone tablet, it was still the same, without any strange phenomena. Legend has it that, if you get the skills in the stone tablet will have strange phenomena, which will alarm many people, and cannot be hidden at all. At the beginning, when Xia obtained half of the skills, it attracted a huge strange phenomenon. But the mobile phone recorded the skills silently. All 7 volumes of skills appeared in the mobile phone documents, but the outside world did not perceive it, and the stone tablet did not change at all. The mobile phone is still as powerful as before, and difficult to guess. Many times, the mobile phone has a low sense of existence, as if there is nothing, no earth-shattering changes and functions. But in fact, it gave him the greatest help when he needed it most. Sensing the 7 volumes of skills on the mobile phone, Xuanji's face was slightly hot, and he felt like a thief. But these things cannot be explained, and they can't be explained clearly. They can only be concealed to the end. Half a day later, they walked out of the yin-yang secret realm. Xuanji was about to say something, but Xuanji stopped him and said, "Don't say more. Talk about it when you get home." "Okay." Xuanji nodded. Xuanji took him away and returned to Xuanjiang Mountain 3 days later. The formation was activated, blinding everything. Xuanji held his hand and tested it and said in shock, "You broke the shackles, and your soul has been raised to 900 kilograms. With the help of the Lake of Life and Death, you broke the shackles." Xuanji said. Xuanji said, "Okay, this is your luck. As for the details, I won't say much. Prepare for a few days, adjust your state, and start to overcome the tribulation." "Okay." Xuanji nodded and did not say anything and began to adjust his state. To prove the golden elixir, he made the final preparations. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Xuanji directly activated the formation, and the formation was running, entering the maximum state, which could prevent foreign invasion. On the top of the mountain, Xuanji took a deep breath and triggered the catastrophe. Suddenly, the dark clouds in the sky were gathering, and the catastrophe was gathering. It was dark and overwhelming, and the storm was coming. Destruction was brewing, as if it was going to destroy everything and tear everything apart. Sizzle. Along with the sound, the calamity descended. Chapter 281 Human Tribulation, Yifixu. Boom boom boom. Above the sky, dark clouds were gathering, and a catastrophe of destruction was brewing. This was the catastrophe of the golden elixir. The catastrophe was imminent. Xuanji looked up at the catastrophe, but his mind was extremely calm. It had been 420 years since he came to this world, and now he was going to prove the golden elixir. The significance of the golden elixir was huge. Before the golden elixir, the so-called foundation building families, the purple mansion families, were essentially vassals of some of the great sects of immortal cultivation, and were essentially semi-colonies. They had to pay tribute to the great sects of immortal cultivation. Chapter 282, 10 Golden Pill Transformations, Gathering and Dispersing by Heart. Xuanji Heavenly Blade. Xuanji activated the Xuanji Heavenly Blade and slashed it down. The blade light was like snow, washing everything. Bang! The two sides clashed with each other. At the moment of collision, the Xuanji Heavenly Blade collided and was cut off on the spot. The destructive energy tore towards Xuanji's body. At the critical moment, Xuanji activated the Dragonfly Divine Form and twisted his body quickly to avoid the fatal blow. "You are a little fast, but still not as good as me." At this moment, a pair of wings appeared behind Yifixu, emitting blue light and carrying a breath of freedom. The wings only trembled slightly, and suddenly the speed was extremely fast, like a shadow, swooping down, fast and fierce, and the moves were fierce and varied. Hurry. Too fast. Xuanji activated the Dragonfly Divine Form and suddenly made a turn at the moment of moving forward, avoiding the flame knife in a hair's breadth. The Xuanji Heavenly Blade trembled continuously and kept swooping down. Bang! The two sides fought fast. In the battle, Xuanji was defeated step by step, with several bloody wounds on his body. If it weren't for the Dragonfly Divine Form being too strange and turning too fast, he would have been killed long ago. In the illusion, his cultivation level was raised to the 9th level of the Golden Core, but Yifixu's aura was still above his. Could it be the 10th level of the Golden Core? "How strong are you?" Xuanji asked. "I got the supreme opportunity and condensed the 10th level of the Golden Core. You are not as good as me in terms of foundation. How can you compete with me?" Yifixu said. 7 Flame Divine Sword. Cut. Behind her, 7 fiery shadows appeared. a flame, emitting scorching heat, seems to burn everything, destroy everything. It is the sun true fire, a flame, emitting a cold breath, seems to freeze the universe, freeze everything. It is the Taiyin true fire, a flame, emitting a pure white color, seems to purify everything. It is the pure yang true fire, a flame, with red and white mixed together, has the color of glass. It is the Nanmingli fire, a flame, three colors mixed together. It is the Samadhi true fire, a flame, emitting the breath of heaven. It is the Kyanan true fire, a flame, emitting karma and destruction, with red lotuses born and destroyed in it. It is the red lotus karma fire. The 7 flames condensed together and turned into a 10-foot long divine sword. The void was ignited, making a hissing sound, annihilating everything, destroying all laws, and the power was so strong that it could kill Yuan Yang cultivators. 5-element sword, yin-yang sword, Yuan magnetic sword, fusion. Lu Xuanji's face changed, and 3 long swords condensed in the void. Later, the 3 long swords merged together and turned into a stream of light to slash and kill. Boom boom boom. The two collided with each other, constantly tearing and annihilating. Lu Xuanji's figure flashed, and the long sword was changing, slashing, and killing continuously. Like rain, Yu Fixu urged the flaming long sword, and the void was constantly tearing, as if a volcanic eruption destroyed everything. Bang bang. In the fierce confrontation, the destructive energy was impacting, and different energy impacted everything, spreading to dozens of miles. The surrounding grass, trees, mountains, etc. were all impacted by the aftermath and collapsed. Countless dust flew up and fell quickly. Within a radius of dozens of miles, the spiritual energy fell into chaos, as if a void storm was erupting, and a series of spiritual energy vortices continued to derive, and then return to extinction. Liho Shenlei. Bingho Shenlei. In the vortex of the battle, Yu Fixu urged the spell, and 2 divine thunders blasted down. Even though the dragonfly spirit form was fast, it was still injured by the blast. Kill. Yu Fixu took a step forward and chopped down with a flaming longsword. Flee spirit form. Kill. Lu Xuanji urged the secret technique, adding it to the 5-element yin and yang Yuan magnetic divine sword, turning it into a 12-fold increase. A 7-color light flashed, and it came to kill. It tore everything apart. Even the 7-flame divine sword was broken. But when it was about to chop her body, Yu Fixu's body turned into a ball of vitality and scattered around. Swish. The long sword chopped down and went straight through, as if it was chopping in the air. The scattered vitality recondensed and turned into Yu Fixu again. Gathering and dispersing is determined by the heart, and only the spirit can comprehend the magical power. You are just a mere golden elixir, but you can do this. Lu Xuanji was surprised in his heart, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Whether it is the golden core or the nascent soul, they are essentially human beings, and will bleed when cut by swords, but after reaching the state of transformation, the body gathers and disperses at the will of the heart. When the body gathers, it turns into a human form, with flesh and blood, no different from ordinary people. But when the body disperses, it turns into Yuan Qi, into particles, without a trace, and unfathomable. Gathering and dispersing at the will of the heart is one of the characteristics of the transformation of the spirit, which means that it is difficult to kill. It is like a long sword can split wood and cut off divine weapons, but it cannot split water or break the air. Water is inherently broken, air is inherently scattered. You are very strong, but you will definitely die. Yu Fixu said, you, the inner demon, are not my brother Xuanji after all. Kill. Yu Fixu took a step forward, and the energy in her body burst out, and the destructive force seemed to tear everything apart, and destroy all things. At this moment, Lu Xuanji also felt oppressed, and felt the threat of death. If he did not respond properly, he might really die here. Forget it, this is the only way to win, Lu Xuanji said. His mind was surging, and a broken sword appeared on his palm. This broken sword was only 1.5 feet long, but it exuded a hint of destruction. The broken pure yang sword. In the past, this was a weapon close to immortality, but later it encountered a catastrophe, and the pure yang sword was cut off, and its power dropped by an unknown amount. But even so, it is still terrifying and terrible. Swish. Yifixu's figure flashed, and her body turned into a heavenly sword, leading the great power of heaven and earth, slashing down and tearing everything apart. This attack surpassed all the previous ones, and the power was terrifying. Xuanji urged the broken pure yang sword, and slashed out with one sword. The great power of heaven and earth collapsed. Gathering and dispersing is determined by the heart. Yifixu urged the secret technique, and her body suddenly dispersed, turning into airflow, turning into particles, immune to the killing moves coming from the attack. Being in the state of airflow, you can avoid the moves below the transformation of the spirit. Any forbidden spells are useless to her. Any attack and killing moves are useless to her. Just like a two-dimensional paper man, who cannot attack a three-dimensional real person. With the attack of the broken sword, the body in the airflow state was torn apart, and countless particles were destroyed. The body that was originally in the state of vitality was oppressed and condensed into a human form again. Swish. The broken sword was on her neck, and it seemed that it could take her life in an instant. Ahem. What a weird sword I lost. Yifixu said unwillingly, but still closed her eyes, and waited for death. The higher the Tao, the higher the devil, the higher the law, the fiercer the calamity. I thought that I could easily achieve the nascent soul by condensing the 10 turns golden pill, but I didn't know that the calamity was extremely fierce. It's a pity that I will never see my brother again. Chapter 283 Reunion. The taste of brother. Silly girl, I'm not the inner demon, I'm Xuanji. At this moment, a voice came. The sword on the neck retreated. Yifixu opened her eyes and looked at the inner demon in front of her with a look of suspicion. You are my brother, then I want to ask you some questions. Brother, who do you like the most? This question is very strange. Xuanji smiled and said, parents. Yifixu said, you are really my brother, not the inner demon? Of course. Xuanji said. How could it not be the inner demon? Yifixu murmured to herself. At the time of the Purple Mansion Tribulation and the Golden Core Tribulation, I met my brother. They were all evolved from the inner demon. I suffered a little loss, and finally killed the inner demon ruthlessly, and then I survived the tribulation. But at the time of the nascent soul tribulation, it was no longer the inner demon that appeared, but the real brother. I almost killed him. Yifixu trembled, her mind collapsed. Killing the inner demon is nothing. But if she kills her brother, she will regret it for the rest of her life. After achieving the nascent soul stage, her biggest dream was to go back and see her brother, but just now, she was ruthless and almost killed him. Brother, you are my life calamity. Yifixu said with a complicated expression. Xuanji, I didn't expect you to become my human calamity. Xuanji also sighed. The so-called calamity should not be evolved from the inner demon. How can it become a real person? How can people in the real world really appear in the illusion? Yifixu said puzzled. Xuanzao dreamed of a butterfly, or a butterfly dreamed of Xuanzao. Xuanji smiled and said, nothing is impossible in the world. Yes. Yifixu said, you are my brother. As she said that, she leaned in his arms, closed her eyes, and smelled the smell on his body. It was a familiar smell. There was no such smell on the inner demon. It really is my brother. Thinking back to the time when she almost killed her brother as the inner demon, her heart trembled. Brother, I miss you. We haven't seen each other for more than 300 years. Yifixu closed her eyes, recalling the past, and talking about the past. Brother, I was on the Chaos Sea, where there was no order. Killing people for treasures was the mainstream, but I also got some opportunities there, but I also offended some people. She opened her mouth, and was about to speak carefully, but she closed her mouth, and didn't want to say it anymore. The life of a casual cultivator is not good at all. Either chasing or being chased, either fighting or on the way to fight. That kind of life is very tiring and boring. You can't stop, because once you stop, you will die. Even if life is hard and tiring, she doesn't want to stop. She just needs to survive, live to the nascent soul stage, and then return to Chu to see her brother. Cultivating the nascent soul, and going home to see her brother has almost become her obsession. In those dark years, such obsession supported her, fighting firmly and defeating enemies one by one. Xuanji, you have worked hard. Xuanji said. Brother, are you doing well at home? Yifixu said, which female cultivator of the Yi family did you marry? At the beginning, I married a female cultivator named Yi Linglong, but she died halfway. Later I married another female cultivator named Yi Wanyi. She treated me very well and gave birth to 2 sons for me, one named Lu Zian and the other named Lu Fan. Lu Xuanji said. Yi Fixu listened, feeling very uncomfortable, and subconsciously changed the subject and asked, "Brother, are you also going through the tribulation?" "Yes, I just achieved the golden core, which is much worse than you. You actually achieved the nascent soul, and it's the 10th turn golden core. You are really a person with great luck." Lu Xuanji smiled. "That's not as good as my brother, but I still lost to my brother. But it's good to lose, and it's fortunate that I lost. If I really killed my brother, I would regret it for the rest of my life." Yi Fixu said. "If going through the tribulation is at the cost of my brother's life, she would rather fail to go through the tribulation. On the road to cultivating immortals, there is longevity, achieving the Tao, immortality, and eternity. However, some things are more important than these. I never thought that the human calamity would be like this." Lu Xuanji smiled. "If I have to kill you to overcome the calamity, I can't do it. I don't want to become the existence that I hate the most. The world of immortals is full of twists and turns, and full of blood. It is an endless road of no return. Some people give up too many things in order to cultivate immortals. They abandon the tenderness in their hearts and lose the persistence in their hearts. They abandon the attachment to the world and the persistence in their hearts. They abandon their families and relatives and abandon the warmth in their hearts. Such a ruthless immortal, a lonely immortal, it is better not to cultivate." Yi Fixu smiled and said, "Brother, your heart is still as hot as before, like a raging flame, going to burn the whole world. The way of heaven wants me to cut off my feelings and forget. It seems that only by forgetting feelings, becoming a slave of the way of heaven, and becoming a puppet of the way of heaven, can we obtain the supreme way and prove the supreme position. But I just don't want to cut off my feelings. I have an endless attachment to the world, endless love for my family and relatives, and warmth in my heart. I just want to stand up and walk my own way." Lu Xuanji laughed. Yi Fixu laughed and said, "But if we are like this, you don't kill me, and I don't kill you, how can we survive the human and life tribulations? All things must abide by the law of conservation of energy. In order to evolve the human and life tribulations, the illusion set up by the heavenly Dao is no different from the real world. Both consume energy. Will the illusion continue to exist?" Lu Xuanji laughed. Crack, crack. At this moment, a crisp sound came. The surrounding scenery was shattered like glass. The illusion was shattering bit by bit. Yi Fixu felt the pull of reality, and the entity in the real world was calling her. At the same moment, Lu Xuanji also had this feeling. The illusion was shattering. "Wait for me," Yi Fixu said, with infinite tenderness and endless expectations in her eyes. The next moment, the illusion was shattered. The void was changing, and Lu Xuanji opened his eyes. He counted with his fingers, and only 3 breaths of time had passed. In the real world, it was only 3 breaths. But in the illusion, it was an hour. The human calamity was past like this. Thinking back to this human calamity, he couldn't help but sweat. This human calamity was a bit scary. Yi Fixu almost killed her husband to prove her Dao, and he also almost killed his sister to prove his Dao. However, no matter which choice was made, it was a tragedy of human nature. If Yi Fixu knew afterwards that she had not killed the inner demon, her Dao heart would definitely collapse. "This world has ill will towards me." Lu Xuanji was silent, looking up at the sky, and felt the malice of the heaven. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284 Chaos Sea, Supreme Demon Lord. In the Purple Mansion realm, there are 5 seas and 7 states. The 5 seas are the Storm Sea, Chaos Sea, Absolute Abyss Sea, Chaos Star Sea, and Death Sea. The 7 states are Yuanzhao, Zhuzhao, Manzhao, Desolate State, Monster State, Insect State, and North Cold State. The area of the 5 seas forces the 7 states to be much larger. Similarly, the sea contains more resources and more monsters. Among the 7 states, Yuan's Hao and Zhao are mainly human races, and monsters live in some large mountains and dangerous places, but in Manzhou, Desolate State, Monster Clan, etc., the monsters are mainly monsters, and the monsters there have established monster kingdoms. As for Insect State, it is mainly insect monsters. North Cold State is a world dominated by ice and snow, cold and sparsely populated. Only a few ice and snow monsters, or ice spirit root monks appear in it. Among the 5 seas, the Chaos Sea is, as its name suggests, it is a chaotic area. Here is the tomb of the monks. Countless monks fought and died here. At the same time, there are monks who left their inheritance, treasures, and caves here. Of course, there are also some monks who maliciously left caves, which are filled with murderous intent and death. In the Chaos Sea, there are some forbidden areas. There are terrifying murderous intent and destructive formations in the forbidden areas, which can be called the burial place of monks. There is a forbidden area, the Blood Moon Forbidden Area. There are broken void turbulence, broken islands, a blood-colored moon, bursts of death, and zombies that often surge out, forming a forbidden area of about 100,000 miles. On the periphery of the Blood Moon Forbidden Area, there are some spiritual medicines growing, which are quite old. There are often monks who enter to collect medicine, and there are also some wild beasts living in them, hunting the monks passing by. But the more you go to the core area, the more dangerous it is. There are monks who don't believe in evil and bravely break into the forbidden area, but they never come out again. There was once a divine transformation cultivator who entered the core area, but died there. A large number of cultivators died there, which established the reputation of the Moon Forbidden Zone. Many cultivators were horrified and shocked. At this moment, there is a cave in the core of the Blood Moon Forbidden Zone. In the cave, a girl sat on the bed, trapped in an illusion. After a long time, the girl opened her eyes and tears fell from her eyes. The tears fell with unspeakable sadness and pain. "Brother, I dreamed of you. You still love me as before, more than yourself." Yifixu recalled the fate, and sighed in her heart. When she crossed the Purple Mansion tribulation, the inner demon she killed evolved into the appearance of her brother. When she reached the Golden Core tribulation, the inner demon she killed still evolved into the appearance of her brother. When she reached the Nascent Soul tribulation, she thought that the inner demon had evolved into the appearance of her brother, and was about to kill it again. This time, she met her real brother. Fortunately, her brother was very powerful and defeated her. If she knew the truth of the matter afterwards, she would regret it to death. During this catastrophe, she was going through the Nascent Soul tribulation, which triggered the Life tribulation, which was her brother's. Her brother was going through the Golden Core tribulation, which triggered the Human tribulation, which was her. The two were each other's catastrophe. In the dark, the Great Dao is guiding me to kill my brother. Under the guidance of the Great Dao, if I kill my brother and go through the tribulation of fate, my cultivation will be greatly improved, and my strength will enter a stage of rapid growth. Could this be killing my husband to prove my Dao? Yifixu said with a wry smile. She opened a book, which recorded the practice of the Supreme Demon Vein, the Supreme Forgetting Love Record. The Supreme Demon Vein is one of the 7 veins of the demonic Dao. At the beginning, it is important to fall in love, walk in the world, feel the changes in the world, and try to fall in love with someone. When falling in love with someone, the two people's love is entangled, and the feelings heat up. When entering the tender and sweet moment, the love for the wife is the strongest, and the sword is swung to cut the love. Male cultivators can kill their wives to prove their Dao, and women can kill their husbands to prove their Dao. Love turns thin when it is strong. From deep love to forgetfulness, the sublimation of the soul is completed step by step. The story of the Supreme Demon Lord is recorded above. When the Supreme Demon Lord entered the world of cultivation, in order to make his heart free of worries, and not be entangled by the love of the mortal world, he threw away all desires and causes and effects. From then on, he devoted himself to seeking the Tao and cultivating immortals. He personally killed his Taoist partner, which was extremely cruel, until he met Yuhua Daojun. At that time, the Supreme Demon Lord had already reached the level of transcending tribulation, and was only a little away from becoming an immortal. He was so powerful, that the only opponent of his time was Yuhua Daojun. The two of them started fighting from the nascent soul, and each had their own wins and losses. They still couldn't decide the winner, even when they reached the level of transcending tribulation. In the end, the two decided to fight in the land of nothingness, a life and death battle. In that battle, life and death were uncertain, and victory or defeat was unknown. Before the decisive battle, the Supreme Demon Lord left 13 caves all over the world for those who were destined to meet. As a result, the Supreme Demon Lord was defeated in that battle, and Daogen won. 4,000 years later, Daogen ascended and left. Entering this cave, I was able to condense the 10 revolutions golden pill with the inheritance of the Supreme Demon Lord. But the path of the Supreme Demon Lord is not my path, and I can't practice it. Yufix's expression fluctuated as she flipped through the jade slip. When she entered the Chaos Sea, she offended some enemies, and was hunted down. She killed some enemies, but also attracted the attacks of the older generation. She was forced to break into this forbidden area. By chance, she entered this cave, obtained some inheritance from the Supreme Demon Lord, and forged the 10 revolutions golden pill. Thinking of this, she urged the sun's true fire to burn the jade slip. Crack, crack. The jade slip shattered and turned into nothingness. Those enemies, it's time to settle accounts. Yufixu stood up, packed up her treasures, and planned to go out for revenge. She has never been a generous person, but rather a petty person with a small heart. Crack. At this moment, a ghost moth covered his breath and walked out of the restricted area. In Xiang Mountain, Xuanji felt his own aura, without thinking much, and triggered the life calamity again. Suddenly, the heavens sent down a grey breath and wrapped himself. In the real world, Xuanji was in a trance, and entered a stagnation. But in the illusion, the fog appeared again, and it seemed endless, covering all directions, and evolving into a dream world. The life calamity is coming, waiting for the enemy, but at this moment, another fog came. The fog came one after another, continuously, gradually getting lost, falling into an endless illusion, which was true or not true, like an illusion or not an illusion. The fairy world, the heaven of creation. On the throne, an immortal king was sleeping, as if he was in a dream. Your Majesty, at this moment, a soft voice came, with a sweet taste. This immortal king opened his eyes and looked forward. Under the throne, stood a beautiful woman, wearing a white dress with an extraordinary aura. She spoke with a tender expression. Xuanji the immortal king spoke, as if he had thought of something. Chapter 285, The Golden Elixir. The magnificent palace was magnificent and majestic in its classical atmosphere. A maid was walking by. One of them was outstanding in appearance, and had a stunning appearance. There were also guards standing guard at the door, exuding a strong aura. Under the throne, a gentle woman bowed and saluted. According to memory, this woman was his Taoist partner, and she respected him more than she loved him. This woman seemed to be called Xuanji. The immortal king stood up from the throne and thought, "Who am I?" Xuanji said, "Your Majesty, I'm the immortal king of creation, the most top existence in the heavens and all realms." When discussing Taoism with Taoist Hang Meng in the past, Taoist Hang Meng was slightly better, but when your Majesty activated the treasure of the 33 days, you were slightly better than Taoist Hang Meng. You were also discussing Taoism with the Lord of Xuanji. Your Majesty has the upper hand in terms of Taoism, but in terms of strength, it is the Lord of Xuanji who has the upper hand. The immortal king said, "No, not the immortal king of creation, but Xuanji." Xuanji smiled and said, "Xuanji is your Majesty's name in the mortal world. It's just the name of creation that intimidates the heavens, and the world doesn't know Xuanji." The immortal king said, "I dreamed of the story of mortal. It was a story that started in the Purple Mansion realm. He was just a little cultivator. He was born in a small family, had a few confidants, and a humble dream." The immortal king spoke, telling the story in his dream, the story of Xuanji. The immortal king was a slow talker, and the story he told was not full of ups and downs. Instead, it seemed dull, without a climax or ups and downs, and boring and uninteresting, like a running account. However, Xuanji listened carefully, with a look of recollection and thought in his expression. The systems of key training, foundation building, Purple Mansion and Golden Elixir are a bit crude. Could it be that they are the remnants of the cultivation system of a destroyed universe? Xuanji listened and said, "This system is not as complete as ours. The secret realm of the physical body tempers the physical body, strengthens the ki in blood, and explores the mysteries of the physical body. The secret realm of magical powers tempers the soul, takes the soul as the foundation, and promotes the evolution of life. The secret realm of longevity, the unity of essence, ki and spirit, comprehends the laws of space, the laws of time, the laws of creation, the laws of heaven, and evolves into a world, using the world to transform oneself. The secret realm of immortals is to perfect one's own laws step by step, to make the world inside the body perfect. When it comes to the time of the Heavenly Lord, it uses the world inside the body to transcend the shackles of the universe and enter the state of the world will be destroyed, but I will not be destroyed. The sun and the moon will decay, but I will not be immortal." Xuanji's fingers were changing, evolving the cultivation system, comprehending and comparing step by step. In the early stages of cultivation, one begins with tempering the physical body, then tempering the soul, and finally comprehending the laws. But what if the laws comprehended are wrong or incomplete? The immortal king talked to himself. The immortal realm, the god realm, the demon realm, the Buddha realm, the dragon realm, the Xuanhuang world, the book realm, the pill realm, the treasure realm, etc. were all opened up by cultivators. But if the cultivator who opened up the world has a biased or even wrong comprehension, then what will happen if the cultivator living in the world comprehends the wrong laws and biased laws? To want to get the right answer from the wrong theory, isn't it wishful thinking? The 9 turns of the golden elixir. The 9 turns is the ultimate. The 9 turns represents the ultimate of this world. To enter the 10 turns, one must go beyond the limitations of the world. You cannot recognize the true face of Mount Lu, because you are in this mountain. If you want to recognize the true face of Mount Lu, you can only stand outside Mount Lu and look down on everything from a high place. The fog was surging. It seemed like a long time had passed, and then it was just a moment. After a moment, Xuanji opened his eyes. The ki in his body was changing, and he had passed the life tribulation, the heavenly tribulation, the human tribulation, the life tribulation, etc. were all past. His mind was stirring, as if he could condense the golden elixir in a single thought. But he ignored all this, and fell into thought. Is it me who dreamed that I became an immortal king, holding great power, and could shatter the starry sky, and destroy the world with a wave of my hand? Or is it that immortal king who dreamed that he turned into a mortal, walked in the mortal world, comprehended the chaos of the mortal world, and the birth and death of all things? He was lost in confusion, and the dream and reality were a little confused. He couldn't tell whether Xuanzao dreamed of a butterfly, or the butterfly dreamed of Xuanzao. That immortal king is really powerful, proficient in many ancient secrets, supreme magical powers, killing techniques, and top-level weapon refining methods, but I actually forgot them. In the dream, he remembered a lot of things, but when he woke up, he recalled what happened in the dream, but it was vague, and he had forgotten most of it. Xuanji restrained his distracting thoughts, and his mind was changing. His spirit, energy, and spirit were condensed and united, turning into a golden elixir. He closed his eyes, abandoned external objects, entered a deep meditation, and sensed the changes in his mind. Suddenly, a series of strange images rose up in his mind. Sometimes the pure yang sun rose up, sometimes the yin and yang diagram was born and died, sometimes the phoenix flew, and the dragon roared, sometimes the earth, water, wind, and fire evolved. Sometimes the 5 element rotated, sometimes the 8 trigrams were born and died, and sometimes the 9 palaces changed. There are about more than 30 different types of golden elixirs, including the pure yang golden elixir, the yin golden elixir, the sword elixir, the 2 yin and yang golden elixir, the 4 element golden elixir, the 5 element golden elixir, the 9 palaces golden elixir, and the big golden elixir. This earth golden elixir represents different paths and different choices. The next moment, with a thought, most of the phantoms disappeared. Only 5 phantoms were left, which could fit his body, and had a bright future. The first one, called the 3 talents golden pill, is condensed from the spiritual roots of earth, wood, fire, etc., and can be cultivated all the way to the transformation of the spirit. The second one, called the pure yang golden pill, is forged with the Pure Yang Sutra, as the foundation, and can cultivate a body of pure Yang magic power. The third one, called the Yin Yang Golden Pill, is forged with the Yin Yang transformation as the foundation and condenses the Yin Yang magic power. The fourth one, called the Fish Dragon Golden Pill, is forged with the Fish Dragon 9 transformations as the foundation and can forge a supreme body and evolve top level magical powers. The fifth one, called the Creation Golden Pill, is unpredictable, representing the unknown and uncertainty. After just a moment of hesitation, Xuanji chose the fifth one. Boom boom boom. In an instant, Xuanji's spirit and energy were condensing and transformed into a golden pill shining with golden light. At the moment when the golden pill was condensed, woo woo woo, the void was flashing and auras swept in, forming a vortex of auras. The vast aura swept in, causing a shocking vision. Xuanji blocked the vision with his move, and the cultivator was shocked. Not bad, not bad, worthy of being my man, stronger than the infinite. Boom boom boom. Under the sweep of the vast spiritual energy, the illusory golden elixir began to become real. At the same time, an illusory shadow appeared on the golden elixir, with its feet on the netherworld and its head on the sky, standing there proudly, looking at the world with cold eyes, ignoring everything of all living beings. The next moment, the illusory shadow shattered and merged into the golden elixir. A force of creation and magic emerged, turning into a supreme golden elixir. Boom boom boom. Opening his eyes, the ki in his body was surging. The golden elixir fed back to the flesh, and the lifespan was increasing, rising to 1,200 years in one fell swoop. Compared with ordinary golden elixirs, it increased its lifespan by 200 years. His cultivation level was rising step by step, and the aura in his body was surging, increasing to 200 Jazi mana. In terms of the quality of mana, it was raised to the third level of the golden elixir in one fell swoop. Chapter 286, Creation Golden Pill. At this point, the golden elixir is complete. Sensing the changes in the body and the position of the Danshan, a golden sun rises, and there is unspeakable joy in the heart. The golden elixir is complete. From now on, the carp turns into a dragon, with infinite possibilities. The essence of life has undergone drastic changes. I'm no longer me, but I'm still me. The world is still the same, but I'm no longer me. Buzz buzz buzz. The mind is running, the golden elixir is running violently, and a trace of magic power enters the body, nourishing the flesh, and the strength of the flesh is slowly increasing. Above the body, there is a crystal light, like a flawless and moist jade. At this time, the skin is so delicate that even some stunning beauties are far inferior. There is also a faint fragrance coming, which makes people feel comfortable and refreshed. The eyes become brighter, like stars. The facial features become more harmonious and smooth, and the breath is more charming. He is getting more and more handsome. Xuanji looked at it and couldn't help but feel excited. The feeling of excitement became more and more difficult to suppress and control. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the magic weapons and the Danshan made a sound. The Lihuo sword, Wu Shanding, Tun Shanding, Zhu Shanjia, etc. were rioting, absorbing the magic power of creation, and giving off a sense of comfort, as if tasting delicious food. The grade of the magic weapons was slowly improving. This improvement was very slow, but it was steadily improving. Under the nourishment of the magic power of creation, the materials of these magic weapons would slowly change, and the grade would be improved. It seemed that after hundreds of years, the magic weapons would be upgraded to the 5th grade without deliberate sacrifice. The golden elixir was running, and the magic power flowed through the body, regulating the subtle parts of the body, tempering the internal organs, tempering the bones, tempering the meridians, tempering the blood. The body was slowly transforming, steadily improving. The strength of the physique was increasing, and the upper limit of potential was also increasing. The power of creation tempered the soul, and the soul became more and more brilliant, and the thoughts were crystal clear, pure and flawless, as if there was no impurity. Not only that, the role of the spiritual root was infinitely weakened, and was gradually replaced by the golden elixir. Before the golden elixir, the strength of cultivation and the speed of cultivation depended on the spiritual root. The heavenly spirit was the strongest, and the 5 spiritual roots were the worst. The stronger the spiritual root, the faster the cultivation speed, and the broader the path. But after the golden elixir, the path depends on the grade of the golden elixir. The higher the grade of the golden elixir, the better the quality, the more promising it is, and the broader the path. Congratulations, you have achieved the golden elixir, and you will be free and easy from now on. Xuanji stepped forward and said, I'm going to retreat and sort out my gains. Xuanji just said hello and disappeared. In the cave, Xuanji sat upright on the bed, comprehending the changes in his body. Feeling the golden elixir of creation, a trace of mystery about the golden elixir of creation flowed in his heart. He urged the power of creation to hit the potted plants next to him, and the flowers inside grew rapidly and became extremely lush. He urged the power of creation to hit the bush ending, and the grade of the ding was slowly improving. He urged the power of creation to hit a piece of black iron, and the black iron was changing, and it might turn into a piece of immortal gold in a million years. He urged the power of creation to hit the magic weapon, and it shattered instantly, with amazing power. Observing the cut, the destructive power was somewhat amazing. This was not a physical level of destruction, but a direct hit into a particle state. In ordinary monks' battles, the damage to the magic weapon was mainly due to the collapse of the materials inside and the destruction of the runes, but he urged the power of creation to directly cause particle level damage to the magic weapon. Creation is life, transformation is death. Creators create evolution. Transformers destroy and perish. If the power of creation is used for creation, it can promote the growth of spiritual medicines and spiritual trees, and improve the grade of magic weapons. If it is used for killing, it has amazing destructive power, and can break everything into particles. Xuanji said happily. He was running the golden elixir of creation again. The spiritual energy, ghost energy, yin energy, evil energy, Zhengjin energy, Yimu energy, star power, Yuan magnetic force, etc. all entered his body and were refined by the golden elixir, turning into supplements for the golden elixir of creation. In the world, the spiritual energy is transformed by the formation, pure and flawless, suitable for cultivators to practice. But some ghost energy, murderous energy, dead energy, etc. are not only useless to cultivators, but extremely harmful. But now, he can also absorb these harmful gases. Legend has it that there is a lack of spiritual energy in the Texu starry sky, and even starlight is scarce. There is only scattered void energy, as well as extremely difficult evil spirits, yin energy, and so on. If an ordinary cultivator enters the Texu starry sky, he will die of energy exhaustion, because his body's mana is exhausted, and he cannot replenish spiritual energy. Only the strong ones who have refined the void can transform energy of different attributes into mana to make up for their own consumption, and never have to worry about dying of mana exhaustion. I have only begun to condense the golden elixir. With the help of the mystery of the golden elixir, I can also transform various energies into mana, and initially possess some characteristics of refining the void. Sensing the changes in the golden elixir, 5 supreme magical powers were engraved on the golden elixir. 1-4, Xuanji Xiandao. 1-4, 9 changes of fish and dragon. 1-4, golden light of the earth. 1-4, pure yang true fire. And 1-4, heavenly wood method. With a thought, the magical power operates faster and saves more mana. When I was in the purple mansion, I always felt a beat slower when I activated these magical powers, and the mana consumption was good. But after the golden core, the speed was faster, the mana consumption was less, and the attack power was more fierce. After the golden core, the Xuanji heavenly sword was a little outdated. When I used a 5-element yin and yang Xuanji divine sword, it was the supreme magical power. Xuanji pondered, began to figure it out, pondered, and practiced this magical power. But, with a thought, the Xuanji rune condensed, the yin and yang rune condensed, and finally the 5-element rune. Gradually, the 3 runes gathered together, and turned into a magic sword rune. They went smoothly a little too fast. In the middle of the process, Xuanji had the psychological plan to fail a few times, but the result was that he succeeded on the spot for the first time. He continued to condense the runes, and the number of runes increased. As they were engraved on the golden core, they gradually went from entry to small success. But, as he activated the magic sword, a trace of destructive power erupted, as if to tear everything apart. In terms of killing, it is comparable to the late Jinden. About 3 years later, Xuanji walked out of the cave and consolidated his cultivation. Congratulations. Xuanji stepped forward and said, congratulations, I have you to thank for what I have today. Xuanji stepped forward, took her hand, and said earnestly, this is your fortune, and it is also my fortune. Xuanji said, the cultivation of Jinden is mainly about improving mana and the quality of mana. If you want to prove the Yuanying, you must condense at least 1000 Jiazi of mana, and you must refine the mana to the 7th level. Of course, this is the minimum standard. If you only hold yourself to such a standard, the probability of failure is very high. On the road of cultivating immortals, those who seek the best will get the middle, those who seek the middle will get the lower, and those who seek the lower will get nothing. Chapter 287, Making Spiritual Stones. In the cave, there are bonsais placed around, with luxuriant spiritual medicines, exuding bursts of medicinal fragrance, rich fragrance, fresh and charming. In the center of the cave, there is a stone table forged with jasper. On the stone table, there is a jar of wine. The wine is poured into the bowl, exuding a green color, fragrant and rich. On both sides of the stone table, there are a man and a woman. The woman is wearing a white dress. Her long hair is as black as ink. Her feet are bare. Her skirt is like snow. Her skin is as crystal as jade. Her eyebrows are like paintings. And her temperament is cold. At this time, holding the wine bowl and drinking wine, there is a faint blush on her face. The man opposite, wearing a black coat, is as handsome as jade, a modest gentleman, with a soft face, and skin more delicate than the woman. His slender fingers hold the wine glass, looking free and easy. He exudes a faint and charming aura. It would be a big loss if he doesn't eat soft rice with this appearance. Your foundation is better than mine, your aptitude is stronger than mine, and your combat power is stronger than mine at the same level. You have just entered the Jinden realm and you are already at the 3rd level. You will definitely enter the 8th level of Jinden in less than 100 years, and the 9th level in 200 years at most. The Great Road is within your reach. When you achieve the Tower of Yuanying, we will become Taoist companions. Xuanji said, her face flushed. Her originally rosy face became even more charming and intoxicating. It is almost impossible for many Jinden cultivators to achieve the Tower of Yuanying in 300 years. But for a genius like Xuanji, it is nothing. I have read some ancient books which record that the 9th level of Jinden is not the ultimate. Above the 9th level, there are 10th, 11th, and 12th levels. Do you know this information? Xuanji asked. Xuanji said, at the beginning, when I just set foot on the road of cultivation, I thought that the 9th turn was nothing. I must at least become the 12th turn. But when it came to the golden elixir, I was stuck at only the 9th turn. If you hadn't given me the immortal gold, I might have fallen long ago. When a cultivator reaches the 9th turn, it is the time to stand on the top of the mountain. When you reach the top of the mountain, you can no longer move forward. There is no way forward. If you continue to move forward, it will be a cliff. When I reached the 9th turn of the golden elixir, I looked ahead, but there was no way forward. I directly gave up the extravagant hope of the 10th turn and directly attacked the nascent soul. With your qualifications, the 9th turn is very likely, but the 10th turn is impossible. Really? This time, when I was proving the golden elixir, when I encountered the human calamity, I encountered a genius who had reached the 10th turn of the golden elixir. Xuanji said calmly, as if he was saying that I had picked up $5 on the road. 10 turns of the golden elixir, is there really such a thing in the world? Xuanji said. Xuanji nodded. Xuanji was silent. Since Xuanji said so, then it must be true. It is not a lie, nor is it a false statement. All this is meaningless, but there is really a 10th turn of the golden elixir. How strong is the 10th turn of the golden elixir? Xuanji asked curiously. Very strong. I also used cheating to defeat her in the end. Xuanji said, regretting in his heart. But when he saw Xiaoxu, he was excited and only cared about being affectionate, but forgot to ask how to enter the 10th turn of the golden elixir. It was a pity. Don't force it. Xuanji said. Xuanji also nodded. Let's talk about other things later. As for now, he has only a 3rd turn of cultivation, which is very far away from that step, and he doesn't need to think too much. Xuanji said, by the way, since you have entered the golden elixir, there are some things I should tell you. Where do you think the spirit stones come from? Spirit stones are dug out from mountains and rivers. Xuanji said. Some spirit stones can be dug out from the spirit veins, but most spirit stones are not like this, but are artificial. Xuanji smiled. Artificial? Xuanji was slightly surprised. Some things you will naturally understand after entering the circle. Xuanji smiled and said, just like in the mortal world, the court controls the right to issue currency. But in the world of cultivation, it is the giant and cultivators who begin to control the right to issue currency. Of the spiritual stones circulating on the market, only 3 are naturally excavated, and 7 are made by giant and cultivators. Giant and cultivators can use the skills of condensing pills to condense low-grade spiritual stones. Yuan can condense spiritual energy and turn it into medium-grade spiritual stones. When they reach the stage of transformation, they can condense spiritual energy into high-grade spiritual stones. According to legend, the powerful cultivators of the refining virtual can condense the best spiritual stones. Look at me, I condense spiritual stones like this. At this point, Xuanji urged the power on his palm, and suddenly a stream of spiritual energy gathered on his palm, constantly compressing and condensing, and about a minute later, a low-grade spiritual stone was condensed. Xuanji was slightly stunned. Xuanji smiled, and began to talk about an unspoken rule in the world of cultivation. In the mortal world, the court controls the right to issue currency, but in the world of immortal cultivation, cultivators above the giant level began to control the right to issue currency. Giant and cultivators can use the skills of condensing pills to extract the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and continuously compress it to turn it into low-grade spiritual stones. Depending on the strength of their magic power and their control skills, giant and cultivators can condense an average of 10,000 spiritual stones every day, and more than 3 million spiritual stones a year. On the market, most of the popular spiritual stones are condensed by giant and cultivators. As long as giant and cultivators are willing, they can turn on the printing press at any time, and a large number of printed spiritual stones are put on the market. If it were other worlds, the market would have collapsed long ago, and the currency would have collapsed long ago. But in this world, even if giant and cultivators turn on the printing press indefinitely, there is no need to worry about currency depreciation, rising prices, and market collapse. How many spiritual stones are born every day is how many spiritual stones are digested by the market, or directly stored, so there is no need to worry about the market collapse. Because spiritual stones are not only the currency needed for exchange, but also the most important commodity. They can be used to build spiritual veins, activate formations, and be used for fertilization, etc. Almost most things require spiritual stones. Every year, a large amount of spirit stones are consumed. The demand for spirit stones will only increase, not decrease. In addition, it is impossible for giant and cultivators to make spirit stones all the time. It is enough to have enough spirit stones. There is no need to waste time and life. The world of immortal cultivation has never been based on money, but on cultivation. Many cultivators are busy with cultivation and have no time to waste time to condense spirit stones. There are often not enough spirit stones on the market. According to the rules of the 3 major immortal cultivation sects in Chu State, if giant and cultivators want to settle in Chu State, they must join the 3 major sects and become guest elders. As guest elders, they must be recruited accordingly, once every 100 years, and provide 10 million spirit stones every 100 years. The Danliang sect will give certain elixirs, skills, or territories as compensation. Chapter 288 Guest Elder. In the cave, Xuanji's face was bright red as she talked about something. After reaching the golden core stage, one must also abide by some rules, but the so-called rules are more of a face-saving constraint for the golden core, rather than a real constraint, and this constraint is very small. If I'm right, soon the Danliang sect will send a strong man to invite you to join the Danliang sect. At that time, you can seek some benefits and treatment. Xuanji said with a smile. Xuanji asked, how many masters are there in the Danliang sect? It seems that there are only 3 golden cores in the Danliang sect, but in fact, they have been sitting here for many years. There are also some cultivators who have broken through to the golden core stage and tried to travel outside, temper themselves, find opportunities, and feel the changes in their own ki. After reaching the golden core stage, there is not much future to rely solely on seclusion and hard work, but you have to walk outside more. Xuanji said with a smile. Qualification and talent are important, but opportunity and luck are also extremely important. Just relying on seclusion in the cave, meditating in seclusion, saying that I can become an immortal after seclusion for thousands or tens of thousands of years, does not exist at all. Besides meditating and refining ki, monks often walk outside to look for opportunities. If they get some supreme opportunities, they may change their fate. Even if they have ordinary qualifications and average comprehension, they may achieve higher achievements. Xuanji asked, does the Danliang sect have nascent soul? Yes. Xuanji affirmed, I have seen several nascent souls in several meetings, but they only appeared for a short time, and may only appear once 100 years. The battle for the golden core, the attack of the beast tide, etc., are just insignificant things to them. Xuanji asked, does the Danliang sect have a god of transformation? Xuanji was silent for a long time, and then said, maybe there is, maybe not. It is said that the god of transformation of the Danliang sect may be sleeping, may have fallen, or may be traveling. As for the specific situation, I don't know. Xuanji asked some questions again, and Xuanji answered. After staying in Xiang Mountain for a month, he returned to the Lu family. Sensing the situation of the Lu family, Taoist companion Yuan was in seclusion, and the Great Elder was also in seclusion. They have not yet achieved the golden core. At home, everything was safe and sound. When Xuanji arrived at the cave, he waved his hand, and the spiritual energy in the spiritual cave surged and gathered on his palm. He began to condense the spiritual energy and tried to solidify it. When the spiritual energy was solidified, it was a spiritual stone. Only giant and cultivators could make spiritual stones. As for other cultivators, they were unable to complete the process of solidifying spiritual energy because of their lack of control. He kept compressing the spiritual energy and adjusting its form, not only to prevent it from escaping, but also to prevent it from exploding due to excessive compression. After a long time, the first spiritual stone was condensed. Then, he condensed the second spiritual stone. Because of his powerful soul power and powerful magic power, spiritual stones were made one after another, and 15,000 spiritual stones were made in one day. 15,000 spiritual stones can buy a foundation building pill. Many key refining cultivators wanted to ask for a foundation building pill but couldn't, but for giant and cultivators, it was just a day's effort. The gap between the rich and the poor in this world is so great that it exceeds people's imagination. In the key training stage, after a year of hard work, the annual income of a cultivator is only a few dozen spirit stones. The annual income of a foundation building cultivator is a little better, but it is only a few hundred spirit stones. But after reaching the Purple Palace, the annual income of a poorer Purple Palace cultivator is also a few thousand spirit stones. If the Purple Palace cultivator is rich, the annual income is tens of thousands of spirit stones. After reaching the golden core stage, the annual income is at least 1 million spirit stones. He estimated that, if he condensed 15,000 spirit stones a day, he could condense 4.7 million spirit stones a year, 50 million spirit stones in 10 years, and 500 million spirit stones in 100 years. The income is constantly increasing, but the expenses are also increasing. It takes 15 million spirit stones to build a 4th grade spiritual vein. If you buy a 4th grade spiritual tree, you need 30 million spirit stones. If you buy a 4th grade spiritual treasure, you need 25 million. Buying other miscellaneous things, as well as daily expenses, are also huge. Not only that, the golden core cultivators are also busy practicing and improving their cultivation, and it is impossible for them to print spirit stones manually day and night. Suddenly thinking of something, Xuanji took the heaven swallowing cauldron. Inside the heaven devouring cauldron, there is a thick layer of liquid, emitting a light green color, and carrying a fresh smell. It is the spiritual liquid. After the heaven devouring cauldron enters the 4th level, the spiritual energy is converted into spiritual liquid faster, and it can convert 100,000 spiritual liquids every day. But urging the heaven-devouring cauldron, and compressing the spiritual liquid. The liquid is gradually changing to a solid state. Gradually, one piece of spiritual stone after another fell to the ground. The existence of the heaven-burn cauldron saved him a process in the middle, and the speed of condensing spiritual stones was greatly accelerated. After an hour, 100,000 spiritual stones were condensed. Xuanji laughed loudly, with unspeakable joy in his heart. Why not make a mid-grade spiritual stone? Thinking of this, his mind was surging, and he was ready to move. The spiritual energy contained in the mid-grade spiritual stone is more concentrated and pure, which is more beneficial for the cultivation of the purple mansion golden pill. One mid-grade spiritual stone is equivalent to 100 low-grade spiritual stones. However, it is quite difficult to make a mid-grade spiritual stone. Only the nascent soul cultivator can compress the spiritual energy and make a mid-grade spiritual stone. Giant cultivators will not be able to control the stability of spirit stones due to insufficient control, which will cause the spirit stones to explode. Making mid-grade spirit stones, the benefits will exceed low-grade spirit stones. He did it right away, and then the spirit stones exploded. The cave was torn apart, and the wave of destruction shook the Lu family. Fortunately, the place where he was sparsely populated, so no innocent cultivators were affected. But at this moment, he was also in a mess. His body was black, his clothes were torn, and he looked quite embarrassed. Patriarch, what's wrong? Lu Xuanwen stepped forward and said, nothing, you go and clean it up. Lu Xuanji said, and went to an open place again, and made mid-grade spirit stones again. Boom boom boom. The explosion happened again. It failed again. Reflecting on the process, summing up the experience, and making it again after a while. One after another. After 18 consecutive failures, he finally made a mid-grade spirit stone. Finally succeeded. Looking at the appearance of the mid-grade spirit stone, Lu Xuanji frowned slightly. These spirit stones have cracks and damages on them, and seem to be incomplete. They are incomplete middle-grade spirit stones. They continue to be manufactured, one after another. Within a day, 100 middle-grade spirit stones are manufactured. The value can be exchanged for 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, which is much less efficient than manufacturing low-grade spirit stones. Spirit stones were manufactured continuously in this way until a month later, when the disciples of Danliang sect came in person. This was the end of all this. Congratulations to the Lu family, congratulations to Ancestor Lu, for achieving the golden elixir, and becoming immortal for 1,000 years. At this time, a beautiful female disciple stepped forward and said, having learned that the ancestor achieved the golden elixir, the ancestors of Danliang sect invite you to join our Danliang sect as a guest elder. As for the specific treatment, there are the following 8 aspects. Chapter 289 8 Benefits, 3 Rules. Lu family. In the main hall, Lu Xuanji sat high up on the throne. In the west under the throne, a woman stood with a respectful look, and said, becoming a guest of Danliang sect can enjoy the following treatment and benefits. First, you will receive 1,000 middle grade spirit stones every year as a salary. Second, you can receive a 4th grade divine material in Danliang sect to forge a divine weapon. Third, you can get an elder token. In times of crisis, you can use the elder token to ask for help from Chindan cultivators and Yuanian cultivators. Fourth, you can get some life-saving talismans or tokens. Fifth, in the future, you will only need 50% off to buy exercises in Danliang sect, 30% off to buy pill recipes, 30% off to buy pills, and 30% off to read non-exercise books. Sixth, you will be given a mountain as a place for cultivation. Seventh, you will be given some territories, people, cultivators, etc. as vassals. 8th, there may be some Yuanying elders or Chindan elders to give some guidance. The female cultivator spoke, talking about some benefits and treatments of Danliang sect. These benefits and treatments can be said to be very good and very favorable. But Lu Xuanji was unmoved when he heard this. Instead, he asked, what do I need to pay? First, you must abide by the sect rules of Danliang sect. Chindan cultivators already have the ability to break the rules, but it is best not to do so. Second, you must regularly complete some tasks of Danliang sect. Third, to open up a lineage in Danliang sect, you must recruit some disciples and leave a Taoist tradition in Danliang sect. Fourth, You can become a Taoist partner with a female cultivator in Danliang sect, or recruit some female cultivators as concubines. The female cultivator spoke, talking about some rules. As a Chindan cultivator, what rules do I have to abide by? Lu Xuanji asked. Danliang sect, what are the sect rules? These are the sect rules, senior. Please take a closer look. The female cultivator respectfully handed over a booklet. There were many rules on the booklet, all in all, about 300. Looking through it roughly, these sect rules were both lenient and strict, and overall they were quite reasonable. Sorry senior, I took the wrong one. The female cultivator apologized, as if she had thought of something, and handed over another booklet. Lu Xuanji smiled and ignored the female cultivator's thoughts. He took the booklet, which only had 3 rules written on it. First, you must not kill a large number of lower class people to practice magic skills. Second, you must abide by the rules, and must not attack lower class cultivators. Third, you must not betray your sect. In contrast, many of the previous rules were directly omitted. In the previous booklet, it was clearly written that those who colluded with demon cultivators would be killed. Those who colluded with demon cultivators would be killed. Those who practiced magic skills would be killed. And those who fled from the battlefield would be killed. But after reaching the Chindan stage, these rules disappeared. If the Purple Mansion cultivator made friends with the demon cultivator, he might be regarded as a traitor and be directly hacked to death. But if a Chindan cultivator made friends with the demon cultivator, he would be regarded as resolving grievances with the demon clan. If the Purple Mansion cultivator practiced magic skills, he would be chased by a strong man and the cultivator would exorcise the demon. But a Chindan cultivator practiced magic skills and sacrificed himself to feed the demon in order to better find the flaws of the magic skills. According to the sect rules, foundation building cultivators and Purple Mansion cultivators must fight to the death. If they choose to escape, they will be executed by the elders, killing chickens to scare monkeys, and even implicate their families. But if a Chindan cultivator chooses to make a strategic shift, many people will think that this is a rational move. I already know the sect rules. What are the regular tasks? Lu Xuanji asked. Chindan seniors, you must complete some tasks of the sect every 30 years. The tasks are mainly to refine builds, train disciples, or garrison in some areas. It won't take too much time. The female cultivator said, these tasks will not take too long, and will not delay your cultivation time. The third rule is to leave a legacy in the Danliang sect, so that you will have a sense of belonging to the sect. The fourth rule is that, if you have a Taoist partner, a concubine, and children and descendants in the Danliang sect, your sense of belonging will be further strengthened. I hope that the senior will treat the Danliang sect as your home. Lu Xuanji asked, and the female cultivator answered, and they were quite harmonious with each other. After joining the Danliang sect and becoming a guest elder, it is considered that there is less work, more money, and close to home, with a high position and light responsibility. If one becomes a formal elder after the probation period, the benefits will be further improved. Then, the distribution of the strength of Danliang sect was introduced. Danliang sect has 5 major families, 9 halls, and 18 peaks. The 5 major families are the Yi family, the Zhao family, the Qian family, the Sun family, the Jin family, etc. These families have great strength in Danliang sect. They are all managed by several Chindan monks, and their power is huge. The 9 halls are the Law Enforcement Hall, the Dan Hall, the Qi Hall, the Gong Hall, the Linggao Hall, the Lingxi Hall, the Filu Hall, the Zenfa Hall, the Merit Hall, etc., all of which are managed by Chindan monks. However, Chindan monks are busy with cultivation, and will not care about mundane affairs. It is mainly the deputy hall master who handles all affairs. The 18 peaks are mainly for the inheritance of Gangfa, and they are all managed by Chindan monks. Lu Xuanji pondered, how many Chindan are there in Danliang sect? It's hard to say. The female cultivator said, in Danliang sect, some Chindan elders have not been seen for a long time. Some Chindan elders are in seclusion. Some Chindan elders have entered some secret realms. Some elders Chindan have gone to Xuan mountains. Some Chindan elders are traveling outside, and some Chindan elders may have died. As for how many Chindan are there in Danliang sect, I don't know. There are about 100 people registered, but there are only 50 Chindan who are confirmed to be alive, and there are about 18 people active in Xiang Mountain. Lu Xuanji asked, isn't there a soul life lamp to determine the life and death of a Chindan cultivator? The female cultivator showed a strange look, but still said, senior, you should know that some magic techniques can use blood, hair, etc. to cast curses. If a magic cultivator obtains a soul life lamp and uses it as a basis to cast some curses, he may curse that cultivator to death. In ancient times, some sects set up soul life lamps for two purposes. One is to determine the life and death of the monks in the sect. If the monk died, the soul life lamp can be used to directly resurrect the monk. This is a positive and useful side, but on the other hand, the soul life lamp is used to threaten the monks of the sect, to search for the location of the monks, and to curse the monks. But later, these rules were abolished because of the negative effects. What's the difference between the soul life lamp and the slave contract? Lu Xuanji nodded. Only then did he realize that the rules of ancient and modern times are very different. The female cultivator said again, after entering the Jindan, you can become a guest elder, but according to the assessment, it is divided into 3 levels, bronze, silver, and gold. Senior, it's best to go to Danliang sect to participate in the assessment in 3 days. Chapter 290, Enthusiastic Master Son. In the cave, the female cultivator smiled sweetly and talked about some rules of Danliang sect. After talking for a while, the female cultivator left. Interesting. Sure enough, I still have to join Danliang sect and abide by the rules. Lu Xuanji sighed slightly. The world of immortal cultivation is very different from the world of the previous life, but the basic rules are still similar, with little difference. 3 days later, Lu Xuanji urged the escape light and headed towards Danliang sect. Soon, continuous mountains appeared, with towering mountains and flowing waterfalls. There were cranes flying, palaces standing in the clouds, and strange beasts walking around. There were also some medicine gardens scattered among the mountains, and some spiritual fields distributed around, which were staggered. Within a radius of 3,000 miles, all were directly under the jurisdiction of Danliang sect. As he approached the Danliang sect, Lu Xuanji's expression became solemn. He observed the changes in the mountains and the ups and downs of the terrain, as if a giant dragon was dormant in front of him. There were densely packed formations in front of him, about thousands of them. Once these formations were activated, even the Yuanying's engine could be suppressed and killed. Just as he approached, he saw the gate of Xiang Mountain opened, and some cultivators came to greet him. In front of him, there was an elegant cultivator wearing a green Taoist robe and a few strands of beard on his chin. He stood there with an immortal style and a sense of being a celestial being. It was the head of the Danliang sect, Sun Bi Wang. In the sects of cultivating immortals, the head of the sect does not have the greatest power or the strongest strength. Above him are the supreme elders composed of Yuanying cultivators, and at the same level, there are the masters of each hall and the masters of each vein. In terms of authority, he is more like a butler. Dao Ao is here. Sun Bi Wang stepped forward and said, thank you, the head of the sect is here to greet you. Lu Xuanji also stepped forward and said, don't say more, we'll talk about other things when we get to the hall. Sun Bi Wang said with a smile. Lu Xuanji said with a smile, you're welcome. Please come in. Please come in. The two of them were polite and recorded in the hall. The head of the sect warmly entertained them and walked in with etiquette, as if they were brothers. Lu Xuanji also greeted them warmly like a good brother. During the conversation, the head of the sect began to introduce the situation of Xiang Mountain, the sect rules, the situation of each hall, and the situation of some Jindan elders. Sun Bi Wang said, what is the purpose of cultivating immortals? Isn't it for immortality, freedom, and happiness? After reaching the Jindan level, the general sect rules, general laws, etc., are only to restrain the weak, but cannot restrain the strong like us. Many rules can be ignored, but there are 2 rules that must be followed. One is not to betray the sect, and the other is not to kill a large number of human races. Of course I understand this. Lu Xuanji nodded. Being traitor is actually just a small matter. The worst case scenario is that the Danliang sect will hunt you down. But if you kill humans in large numbers, all human cultivators will hunt you down. Sun Bi Wang said, after reaching the Jinden stage, battles must be fought at high altitudes, and not on the ground, and battles on the ground must not affect humans. Jinden cultivators cannot kill foundation building cultivators and Zifu cultivators, and civilians cannot be killed. If they kill too many, there will be big trouble. Lu Xuanji smiled and said, does it mean that, if a Zifu cultivator provokes me or insults me, I cannot take action? If a purple mansion cultivator disrespects Jinden and provokes you wantonly, you can naturally kill him. Sun Bi Wang smiled and said, Jinden cultivators are not allowed to kill cultivators wantonly, it's not that they can't. In addition, if a Jinden cultivator is unhappy with someone, he can ask a purple mansion cultivator to take action. It's best not to take action himself. These are some of the popular unspoken rules in the Jinden circle. In the world of immortal cultivation, the strong are always respected. It is not that the strong can do whatever they want and kill whoever they want. This is impossible. Overall, the state of Chu is still in a lawful state. The first lesson that the head of the sect told Lu Xuanji was that Jinden should not attack, hurt, or kill the lower level cultivators at will. This is considered a protection for the lower level cultivators. Only by protecting the lower level cultivators, the geniuses among the lower level cultivators can grow up, and the world of immortal cultivation can have a steady stream of talents. Of course, if a lower level cultivator provokes Jinden, insults him verbally, and is disrespectful, the Jinden cultivator can kill him. As long as there are enough reasons, the Jinden cultivator can kill the lower level cultivator. In addition, even if the rules restrict the Jinden cultivator from taking action directly, he can let the purple mansion cultivators under his command attack, or use the sect rules to restrict development, use the sect rules to kill people, etc. Does Dao Yao have a Taoist partner? Sun Bi Wang asked. Yes, a female cultivator of the Yi family, named Ji. Lu Xuanji asked. Do you have concubines? Sun Bi Wang asked. No. You are too poor. Sun Bi Wang said, even a mortal emperor has 3 palaces, 6 courtyards and 72 concubines. But you are a Jinden cultivator, with a lifespan of 1,000 years and great power. It is not right for you to have too few concubines. You should have at least 20 concubines. Lu Xuanji smiled. How can I handle so many concubines? Besides, I'm busy with cultivation, and have no time to enjoy beauty. Sun Bi Wang smiled faintly. Do you think I do this just to let you enjoy beauty? Is there any deeper meaning in it? Lu Xuanji smiled. Yes, of course. Sun Bi Wang smiled. Many things are a matter of probability. When mortals and mortals are combined, the probability of their offspring awakening their spiritual roots is 1%, but the probability of cultivators awakening their spiritual roots is 1/10. The offspring of purple mansion cultivators must have spiritual roots. The offspring of golden core cultivators must have second spiritual roots, or different spiritual roots, and there is even a third chance of giving birth to heavenly spiritual roots. I encourage fellow Daoists to take in more concubines. Enjoying beauty is one of them, and it is also adding some excellent offspring for our human race. The strong humans are pure-hearted and obsessed with the great way. They are not keen on the beauty of men and women, and have little desire to give birth to offspring. On the contrary, those cultivators with poor qualifications reproduce a large number of offspring. The number has increased, but the quality has decreased. This is actually not conducive to the development of the human race. Daoist fellow, since you have become a golden core elder, you should contribute to our human race and work hard to give birth to offspring. Unfortunately, our human race is not as good as the demon race in giving birth to offspring. If the birth rate can keep up, the demon race would have been destroyed long ago. Daoist fellow, this way. Go to the servant peak and the outer gate peak to select some suitable mates. Sun Bi Wang said, pulling Lu Xuanji away. Lu Xuanji smiled and couldn't refuse, so he stood up and followed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291, Selecting a Maid. The miscellaneous service peak is full of shadows of trees, mixed with flowers and plants, with a medicine garden, spiritual fields, and a palace, which looks elegant and unique. The mountain is steep and the clouds are misty. It is called the miscellaneous service peak, but in fact it is an area of about 1,000 square kilometers centered on the miscellaneous service peak, where about 500,000 miscellaneous service disciples gather. Miscellaneous service in the mortal world requires cleaning, washing clothes, and dealing with various sundries. But it is not the case in the immortal cultivation sect. If the clothes are dirty and the room is dirty, a dust cleaning talisman can be used to make the clothes spotless. If there is dust in the hall, the road, and the mountain, a spell can be used to clean it. Other heavy work is also handled by powerful puppets. The so-called miscellaneous service disciples do not need to do miscellaneous work. After coming here, the miscellaneous service disciples mainly study, learn basic cultivation knowledge, basic talisman making, basic formation, basic breeding, basic beast control, basic alchemy, basic refining, etc. and also need to be familiar with human relationships and some basic industries of the sect. After 3 years, there will be an assessment. The suitable ones will stay and become outer disciples, and the unsuitable ones will leave. To stay, one must have excellent qualifications and fast cultivation speed. The other is to have a skill. Even if the qualifications are a little worse, they will be kept. When he arrived near the miscellaneous peak, he sensed the rich spiritual energy. There was a 4th grade spiritual vein laying below, and the spiritual energy emitted was quite rich. The cultivation speed here was extremely fast. At the beginning, when he was 9 years old, he also wanted to join the Dandayang sect as a miscellaneous disciple, just because of the rich spiritual energy here. In such an environment, as long as the qualifications are not too bad, it is not difficult to enter the 9th level of key refining at the age of 30, but if you practice in a place with thin spiritual energy outside, or on a 2nd grade spiritual vein or a 3rd grade spiritual vein, it is considered lucky to enter the 9th level of key refining at the age of 50. Not to mention other benefits, just the rich spiritual energy here is enough to attract countless disciples. Arriving here, I saw a small town with all kinds of cultivators hawking their wares, selling talismans, elixirs, secret books, and elixirs, with varying levels of cultivation. Unlike other mountains, which are full of fairy spirits and orchids in the empty valley, here, the atmosphere of the world is strong, just like a small town in the mortal world. The errant disciples here are generally above the 3rd spiritual root, and there are many 2nd spiritual roots and special spiritual roots. Just a rough glance, you can see more than 30 2nd spiritual roots and special spiritual roots. 2nd spiritual roots and 3rd spiritual roots are considered to be geniuses and evil goers in some areas, and their numbers are rare. But in the huge population base of Chu, they are nothing. With their figures flashing, the two hid their tracks and transformed into ordinary cultivators to enter the town. In the town, wandering around casually, drinking fine wine, eating candied haws, and listening to ditties, the originally detached state of mind gradually fluctuated a little, and a little more worldly taste. In a certain restaurant, on the 3rd floor, under the enthusiastic greeting of the headmaster's son, 7 or 8 dishes were served one after another. They were cooked with spiritual medicine, spiritual rice, spiritual beasts, etc. The dishes were not of high quality, but they were full of color, fragrance, and taste, with a strong fragrance. Eating a piece of vegetarian meat, Xuanji nodded. Not bad, not bad, it tastes good. If you think it tastes good, then taste it more. The headmaster's son smiled. Okay, let's clink glasses. Come on, clink glasses. After eating and drinking, the two continued to walk. The two walked and walked until they reached the service hall. Old Kyan, I'm here. The headmaster's son arrived at the door and shouted loudly. Headmaster, I'm here. You're still making such a fuss. At this moment, an old man appeared. His hair was messy, like a chicken coop, and the Taoist robe on his body seemed to be washed white, and he hadn't changed it for a long time. There was still a smell of alcohol on his mouth, and a big gourd in his hand, looking unkempt. No more words. This is Elder Lu, you understand, so I don't need to say more, right? Sun Bi Wang said. Of course. Old Kyan nodded. Come to my hall and sit for a while. Okay. With that, the three of them entered the hall. From the outside, the hall looked like an ordinary palace, but the interior was quite huge. Elder Kyan took out the token and began to transmit the message. At the same time, he lit a finger-long incense stick next to him, and the smoke was curling, burning very quickly. After a while, more than a dozen female cultivators arrived, and some more female cultivators arrived later. In just a moment, there were 300 people. Time's up, Old Kyan said, waving his hand, and the door closed directly. If they didn't come, then they don't have to come. The door to the hall was closed, and Leo Kyan said, "This is the newly promoted Giant and Elder Lu, who came to my miscellaneous service peak to select a close maid. As for the meaning, everyone should understand, so I won't say more. Those who are willing to stay, those who are unwilling to leave, no one will force anything. I will give you 10 breaths of choice. You have 10 breaths of time to make a choice." The female cultivators present blushed as they listened. The personal maid of the Giant and Elder contained a lot of meaning. Once you make a choice, you have no right to regret. But the women were silent, and no one withdrew. "Okay, you didn't withdraw. I hope your choice is correct," Leo Kyan said. "I will say a few words here. Those female cultivators who are not virgins will be eliminated directly." With a wave of his hand, more than a dozen female cultivators were kicked out of the hall. Leo Kyan said again, "Female cultivators with poor appearance will be eliminated directly." As he said that, he took out a compass and covered the female cultivators present. Soon, white light rose above the heads of some female cultivators, and at the same time, a strong force pushed, and more than 50 female cultivators were directly squeezed out. Leo Kyan said, "How to choose the rest, Daoist friend, you decide." "Okay." Xuanji stood up and looked down at the female cultivators below. There are more than 200 female cultivators present. These female cultivators are all beautiful, at least above 85 points. More than 100 of them have 3 spiritual roots, more than 50 have 2 spiritual roots, and more than 20 have different spiritual roots. As for the background, some are the eldest daughters of the Purple Mansion family, and some are born in the Golden Core family, with a noble status. These female cultivators are all outstanding in qualifications, and they have the hope of becoming a foundation building, or even a Purple Mansion, and even a glimmer of hope for the Golden Core in the future. If they were in the outside world, they would be treated as goddesses, and there would be countless licking dogs. But now, he lets them choose, and they will become his personal maids and the people closest to him. They may sleep with him, or even decide their life and death. They will gain a lot, but they will also lose a lot. Of course, they could choose to quit. No one forced them, but no one quit. This was the majesty of the Golden Core. Chapter 292, The Unusual Movement of the Broken Pure Yang Sword. In the servants' hall, many female cultivators stood below, looking up at the Golden Core Elder above, with admiration, envy, expectation, and shyness in their expressions. But when they looked closely, they felt that the grey mist was covering the face of the Golden Core Elder, and they could not see his appearance clearly. The only thing that was certain was that the Golden Core Elder was a male cultivator. "I have a magical power. It depends on how much you can comprehend. Those with high comprehension stay," Xuanji said. He took out a stone tablet, carved some words on it, and then put it on the hall with a rumble. He waved his hand to light a stick of sandalwood and said, "You only have 1 stick of incense." The sandalwood was burning, and many female cultivators were excited and began to comprehend. The sandalwood burned very quickly, and it burned out in just 10 minutes. The female cultivators present had different expressions. Some were annoyed, some were happy, and some were sighing. Xuanji's expression remained unchanged, and he urged his aura. Suddenly, his body seemed to turn into a sharp sword, tearing everything apart and destroying everything. The female cultivators present were sweating profusely as they watched this scene. Their souls were intimidated and were about to collapse. Some were oppressed by the aura and fell to the ground. After 5 breaths, there were only less than 30 female cultivators standing. "You can leave." With a wave of Kyan Leo's hand, the fallen female cultivators were sent out one after another. This is a god-asking talisman. It can detect your details to prevent spies from mixing in. Are you willing? Xuanji took out a 3rd grade god-asking talisman and asked. It seemed like he was asking, but in fact, he was not going to refuse. The God asking talisman has the power of hypnosis, which can directly break through the mental barrier and directly ask about the secrets deep in the heart. Even the Purple Mansion cultivators cannot resist it. It feels like using a butcher knife to kill a chicken, to ask a group of cultivators at the 3rd level of key refining. Swish. At this moment, Xuanji activated the God asking talisman and came to a female cultivator and asked, "Why do you want to be Elder Lu's personal maid?" "I want revenge." "Are you planning to harm Elder Lu?" "No." "Are you a spy?" "No." He activated the God asking talisman, which kept floating, and asked the female cultivators present. The questions were not complicated, at most 3 questions. After asking a lot of questions, he confirmed that the female cultivators present had no problems with their identities, and were not spies from certain sects. "I need a maid who is good at cooking, and can make delicious food. Please stand up," Xuanji said. Immediately, 7 female cultivators stood up. Illusion. Dream. Xuanji pointed his finger and activated a small spell, immediately pulling the 7 female cultivators into the dream. In the dream, they began to make dishes. In the dream, they spent half an hour, but in the real world, only 3 breaths passed. "I choose you." Xuanji pointed his finger, and the woman in red immediately landed beside him, looking a little terrified, a little uneasy, and a little happy. "What's your name?" Xuanji asked. "My name is Hanfu," the woman in red said. "It's you. You stay and cook for me," Xuanji said. "Thank you, master," Hanfu said happily, standing aside. The female cultivators looked at Hanfu, one with envy and a little jealousy. Xuanji said, "I have chosen my maids. Goodbye." Old Khan laughed and said, "Daoao, you are too perfunctory. Daoao is a giant and elder. Just one Taoist companion is too few. You should have at least 3 or 4 concubines." Of course, not just anyone is qualified to be a concubine of a giant and elder, but there should be more maids for selection. At least 4 should be selected. Yes, Daoao is a giant and elder. Some things are not suitable for you to do personally. There are also some trivial matters that can be handed over to trusted people. Master Sun also laughed and said, "These maids can't help you deal with big things, but small things can." Xuanji thought about it, and thought of Jinzi. Jinzi once accepted many maids to deal with some things in Xiang Mountain, so that she could practice with peace of mind. After these clothes maids were trained, they became Zifu monks and Jiandan monks, and also became part of her help. It's time to train some clothes people. Well, I'll give you another chance. Xuanji nodded, looking at the female cultivators present, his eyes flickering, as if he wanted to see through the essence of these female cultivators. But he shook his head quickly. These female cultivators are beautiful, but at his level, he no longer needs vases to embellish himself. He was about to speak, and randomly choose a woman to be his maid. But at this moment, the pure yang broken sword in his body trembled slightly, as if it sensed something. The target was a woman in blue. This woman in blue was extremely beautiful in appearance, but she looked quite ordinary among the crowd. She had 2 spiritual roots of water and wood, which was considered a genius in the outside world, but it was very ordinary here. Who doesn't have 2 spiritual roots, and who doesn't have an alien spiritual root? It's you. Xuanji pointed at the woman in blue and said, "Me." The woman in blue said, "Yes, it's you." Xuanji asked, "What's your name?" "My name is Ningzhu," said the woman in blue. "Call me master." "Master." Xuanji nodded and said, "Fellow Daoists, goodbye." "Fellow Daoists, let's pick 2 more. 4 in a pair, to match your status." "No need." Xuanji smiled. "Let's talk about it later. Let's talk about other things later." Sect leader Sun said, "In that case, let's go to your mountain." "Okay." Xuanji nodded. With a wave of his hand, his feet turned into clouds, carrying the 3 of them away. After a while, they arrived at the foot of a mountain. I saw a mountain rising from the ground, like a sharp sword. On the top of the mountain, there was a huge palace, and around it were medicinal gardens, spiritual fields, etc. On the periphery of the mountain, there were formations laid out, both offensive and defensive. Under the mountain, there was a 4th grade spiritual vein laid underneath. with formations to confine the spiritual energy, which continued to spread to the surroundings, slowly and steadily. When I climbed the mountain, I felt a sense of freshness. Fellow Daoist, how would you name the mountain? Sect leader Sun smiled. This peak should be named Fortune Peak. Lu Xuanji thought of something, and directly carved the above 3 characters on the stone tablet in front of him. The strokes of the pen were like dragons and snakes, which had great deterrence. It's up to you how to set up the top of the mountain, said Master Sun, and after instructing him on some things, he said goodbye and left. Looking at the mountain, Lu Xuanji called the 2 maids, and began to wander around the mountain, familiarizing himself with everything here, and appreciating the scenery of his new home. Chapter 293, Kindness and Strength. On the top of the mountain, Lu Xuanji walked around, observing the topography of the mountain and the distribution of the mountain. The mountain looks straight, but it is only one side. After some areas were transformed, they are suitable for the growth of spiritual medicines, spiritual rice, etc., and with fertile spiritual bodies as support, the annual income will be better. After an estimate, if Jade Emperor rice and spiritual medicines with short cycles are planted, the annual income can be 200,000 spiritual stones. If some spiritual medicines with long cycles are planted, the annual income may be 500,000 spiritual stones. He checked the formation again. The formation can protect the mountain and attack, and kill the enemy. Even the peak of the golden core will take a lot of effort to break the formation. Moreover, the spiritual vein buried under the mountain is of high grade, belonging to the middle stage of the 4th grade, which is only for him to practice alone. He does not have to worry about the problem of insufficient spiritual energy before the nascent soul. After a round, he arrived at the palace. Lu Xuanji sat on the throne, and looked at the 2 maids. The 2 maids stood below, and lowered their heads, but their eyes were looking at the master. In the miscellaneous hall, the master used grey mist to cover his true face, but now the grey mist dissipated, revealing his true face, a handsome young man. He was slender, his skin was white, his body was emitting crystal light, and his long hair was draped behind his head, which made him look elegant and still more beautiful than a stunning beauty. He exuded a unique aura, and people's hearts would beat at a glance. Han Fu's face changed, and she subconsciously lowered her head, feeling her heart beat, but the next moment she felt ashamed, feeling that she was not worthy of him. Ningzu just took a look, then lowered her head. Her pretty face flushed, her beauty was like fire, and she felt ashamed. In the miscellaneous peak, she was also considered a beauty, but compared with this master, she was so much worse. It was like a green leaf meeting a red flower. Meet the master, the 2 women said in unison. Yes. Lu Xuanji nodded, looking aloof. However, at this moment, his brows were slightly furrowed, and he felt a faint thread of love entangled in his soul. At the beginning, there were few moments, but gradually it became continuous. Qin's love was like a net, entangled in his soul. Sensing the source of the love, it turned out to be Han Fu and Ningzu. These 2 maids had just met him for less than half an hour, and they were actually entangled in love. This is too easy to capture. Lu Xuanji was speechless in his heart, but he became more and more certain that women are a group of face dogs. After practicing yin and yang transformation, his appearance became more and more handsome, and his temperament became more and more worldly. Because of the added points of his appearance and temperament, young girls are easily fascinated. Many women fall in love with their eyes. Feeling the slight love and shame of the 2 people, Lu Xuanji had a feeling that, if he stepped forward and pushed the 2 women directly, the 2 women would also accomplish good things in the midst of half pushing and half pushing. They were his maids, and they were considered as candidates for concubines. Even if something happened, it was natural. Of course, this is also due to their relatively young age. They are just 17 or 18 years old at this time. It is the time of youth, the time of spiritual turmoil, and they are also pure and flawless. They have not seen the big winds and waves, and are easily attracted by beautiful and rich men, and are easy to indulge in them. If it is a few hundred years later, after experiencing all kinds of ups and downs, and more black hearts and calculations, it is not easy to be emotional at that time. The difficulty of the strategy has also increased significantly. This is also the time when the giant and monks recruit maids and confidants. They often recruit key training disciples from the service peak. They are young and have low cultivation. Although it takes a lot of time and resources in the initial stage, it is easy to paint on a blank sheet of paper. You can shape their 3 views and cultivate their loyalty with titles. If you directly recruit foundation building monks and purple mansion monks, it is too difficult to ensure their loyalty. Hanfo, Ningsu, since you have become my maids and my close friends, you will gradually know some secrets. But if you know too many secrets, it will be difficult to get away. If you choose to collude with outsiders and leak secrets, I will kill you without mercy. Xuanji spoke murderously. I hate traitors the most. With the murderous aura, the 2 maids trembled, and a trace of fear flashed in their eyes. Hanfo said, "Your Majesty is our master. If you betray the master, you will be punished by heaven and earth." Ningsu also said, "If there is any betrayal, please kill me." Xuanji nodded, without comment, but said, "Even if you betray me, how much benefit can that person give you? Maybe he promised a lot in the beginning, but broke his promise later. Many oaths are unreliable, and there are many ways to bypass the oath. You should think more about the specific pros and cons. If you have any difficulties, you can ask me for help." "Thank you, Master," the 2 maids said in unison. "Hanfu, come to the bed. I will teach you the skills." Xuanji said. The throne he was sitting on was too large and gorgeous. He could use it as a bed to rest. Hanfu blushed and came to the bed. Looking at this huge bed and the handsome face of the owner who was so close, she couldn't help but think in her heart, he wouldn't want to help her here. There was also Ningzu next to her. Wouldn't he pull Ningzu to the bed in a while? 1 dragon and 2 phoenixes, sharing the joy. That's not impossible, but it's a bit too fast. When she got to the bed, she was about to think about the next step. Then the master's voice came, "Take off your shoes and get on the bed." After taking off her shoes and getting on the bed, Hanfu blushed and her body shook slightly, trembling a little. The next moment, she felt a pair of hands grabbing her arms. When she was about to fall into the man's arms, her body was fixed. At the same time, a warm energy like the sun was transmitted back continuously, and her body suddenly felt warm, as if she was soaking in a hot spring. Enjoying such beauty, almost intoxicated, a gentle voice came, "I will teach you a set of exercises, called Kanghei Sword Art." Then, a message was transmitted, entered the sea of consciousness, and was engraved in the soul. This set of exercises can be practiced until the peak of the golden elixir. However, now, most of the scriptures are sealed, and only the key refining scriptures are being opened. When you reach the corresponding realm, the corresponding scriptures will be opened. She can comprehend and practice this scripture, but she can't speak it out loud, and can't be engraved on paper, and can't be taught to outsiders. At the same time, when a cultivator grabbed her and wanted to search her soul to obtain the content of the scripture, he would find a blank and couldn't search for the content of the scripture at all. It seems that there is a cause and effect in the dark, preventing the leakage of the skills. Chapter 294 Pure Yin Holy Body. Go down. The voice came. The words were gentle. Hang Fu was in a trance, got off the bed, and put on her shoes. She felt a little disappointed. After teaching the skills on the bed, shouldn't she go a step further and enjoy the pleasure of love and sex? But why did he just teach her the skills and let her go down? She stood aside with disappointment in her heart. Ningzu, go to the bed. I will teach you the skills. Xuanji said. Thank you, master. Ningzu stepped forward, took off her shoes, and went to the bed. She sat cross-legged. Then, a pair of gentle and slender hands, like beautiful jade, grabbed her hands. Feeling the temperature of those hands, her heart beat faster, her breathing was slightly hurried, her mind was nervous, she was afraid, and she was looking forward to it. Various emotions were mixed together, and even she didn't know which emotion should be the main one. Then, a gentle gas came from those warm hands, and her body seemed to warm up a lot. You seem to have symptoms of body cold? Xuanji asked. Yes, I have had a cold body since childhood. Ningzu said. Really? At this moment, the voice fell silent. Ningzu was nervous, and only felt her body getting warmer, but she didn't think much about anything else. This woman, who can trigger the abnormal movement of the pure yang sword, must have something extraordinary, but she doesn't seem to have anything special. Lu Xuanji used his hands to transmit a trace of pure yang magic power into her body, constantly wondering, observing, and analyzing. He was extremely familiar with every part of Ningzu's body, and maybe Ningzu herself was not as familiar with it as he was. Ningzu, who has 2 spiritual roots of water and wood, is considered a genius. In addition, her physique is slightly cold, but there is nothing abnormal. Am I thinking too much? Lu Xuanji frowned slightly, and the next moment he urged the pure yang broken sword, and immediately stepped forward to infuse a stream of pure yang energy into the body of Taoist Ningzu. Suddenly, Ningzu's body was like a beautiful jade, and a source of origin was activated and growing, and at the same time, the sense of familiarity was increasing. Pure yin holy body. Lu Xuanji was shocked. Pure yin holy body is one of the 3 most powerful bodies for women. Pure yin holy body does not show any magical powers in the early stage. It seems very ordinary and difficult to understand. But after reaching the Purple Palace, it will show its mysteries. It is a kind of accumulation of strength. In the key training stage, there is no magic at all, and it is not much different from ordinary people. This is also why Lu Xuanji did not find any strangeness after many inspections. If it were not for the outbreak of the pure yang sword, some of the magical things might not be detected. If the pure yang Taoist body and the pure yin holy body are practiced together, the efficiency can be said to be top-notch. In a sense, they are a natural match. Master, what kind of exercises should I practice? Ningzu asked. You have 2 spiritual roots of water and wood, so why not practice the Pure Yin Sutra? Lu Xuanji said, this is suitable for your physique, and you can tap your potential according to your characteristics. In the long history of Jiandao, there was once a female cultivator who was a pure yin holy body. This Xuanji practiced to the realm of crossing the tribulation, but fell in the heavenly tribulation, which was extremely regrettable. But even so, it does not hide her excellent side. As he spoke, he pointed his finger, and a scripture was transmitted and sealed in his sea of consciousness. Not only that, there were also some introductions to the pure yin saint body, as well as corresponding cases and so on. The pure yin saint body was indeed extremely powerful, and could be called a top-level Dao body, but it was also an invincible furnace for some top cultivators. If one did not know how to protect himself, and his extremely hidden physique turned into an ordinary appearance, he might die miserably. So, I'm a pure yin saint body. Ningzu was happy, but also worried. Because in this information, there was a fatal flaw in the pure yin saint body. If the pure yin saint body lost its body, when it was still at its peak, all its cultivation would be lost and poured back into that man, and everything would be completed by that man. This shortcoming was somewhat fatal. Everything would become someone else's wedding dress. In fact, the master could hide all this, and wait until her cultivation was high, before occupying her body, so that the benefits could be maximized. But the master still said it. Master, you shouldn't say that. Ningzu said. You are a good furnace, but for me, you are dispensable. I can be invincible without your physique. Lu Xuanji said, with domineering words. Some people are gentlemen, because of their self-confidence. Some people are villains, because of their lack of self-confidence. Ningzu said, the master is magnanimous and convincing. Ningzu also got off the bed and stood aside. Since you have become my maids, you must stand on my side. Lu Xuanji said, if one day, your family has a conflict with me, will you stand on the side of your relatives, or on my side? Ningzu was silent. Hang Fu was also silent. Hang Fo said, Master, it seems that you have a plan. Of course. Lu Xuanji smiled and said, do you have anything that you can't let go of? I can help you get rid of your worldly ties. The devil's way of ending worldly ties is more violent. They directly kill their wives, children and all relatives to prove their way. When people die, there is naturally no cause and effect, thus ending the cause and effect. The righteous lineage is much gentler. To end worldly ties, it means to give some benefits and resources to the family, to repay the family's cultivation and the parents' grace of raising them, thereby repaying the cause and effect, and ending worldly ties. Hang Fu said, Master, my family is a declining purple mansion family. There are only 3 foundation building masters in the family. Although I have 2 spiritual roots, it is difficult to become a purple mansion under such circumstances. So the family sent me to the Danliang sect, hoping that I can go further. I hope the master will give the family a purple mansion pill. Okay. Lu Xuanji said. One is not enough, at least 3 are needed. As he said, he took out a bottle and was about to hand it over. Hang Fu smiled and said, Master, my family does not have a suitable cultivator who can take the purple mansion pill. Giving the purple mansion pill now will bring disaster to the family. It is better to leave an IOU, and you can get the purple mansion pill when the time is right. Okay, everything is up to you. Lu Xuanji nodded. Ningzu, how is your family? Lu Xuanji asked. Ningzu said, my family has a purple mansion cultivator, but his lifespan is not long. Among the cultivators of the same generation, there is one with an unusual spiritual root and 3 with second spiritual roots. I was born in a branch lineage and enjoy few resources. I can only join the Danliang sect and follow the master. As long as I go home and give the family 3 pure yang pills, it will be enough to repay the family's kindness. Also, I want to go home to see my parents. Chapter 295, Repaying Karma and Severing the Earthly Ties. Surrounded by mountains in the distance, there is a small town at the foot of the mountain. In the town, there is a second-grade spiritual vein, which emits rich spiritual energy and turns into spiritual caves, supplying the cultivation of the monks on the ground. As for other scattered spiritual energy, it nourishes the nearby spiritual fields, where Jade Emperor Ice and some low-level spiritual medicines are planted. Mortals and monks live together. Because there is no need to disperse, there are only 30 monks here. Among the 30 monks, there are 3 foundation building monks, 2 of whom are very old and will be in a sitting position in 10 years at most. There is also a foundation building monk who is younger, only 100 years old, and has a 3rd level foundation building cultivation. This is the territory of the immortal cultivation family, the Zhang family. The scarcity of spiritual roots and the difficulty of cultivating immortals have led to a sparse population in many immortal cultivation families. Small immortal cultivation families only have 3 or 5 monks. Larger immortal cultivation families only have dozens of monks. Only those cultivator families that have been passed down for hundreds or thousands of years have hundreds or even thousands of cultivators. At this moment, a golden light flashed, and a man and 2 women arrived at the gate of the villa. You go in. Lu Xuanji said. Hang Fu nodded and said, Master, can you accompany me in? Yes. Lu Xuanji nodded. He was very tolerant when it didn't involve some major principles. With flashing footsteps, Lu Xuanji stepped forward, and at the same time, a grey mist covered his face. If you are not a close person, you don't even have the qualification to see his face. At the same time, a trace of aura emanated from his body, and a trace of destructive aura descended. But that senior is coming. At this moment, as if sensing something, the 3 foundation building cultivators of the Zhang family came forward one after another, and greeted them at the gate of the town, and their words were quite respectful. Just emitting a trace of aura was intimidating, as if it could destroy the Zhang family in a thought. Patriarch, Elder, Father, I'm back. At this moment, Hang Fu stepped forward and said, you practiced in the Danliang sect, why can you come back here? The head of the Zhang family asked curiously. Let's go into the living room and talk about other things. Hang Fu said. That's right. The clan leader nodded. Everyone entered the town and arrived in the living room. Tea was served. Lu Xuanji just symbolically tasted the tea. Master, I have something to say to my family. Goodbye. You are welcome. With that, everyone in the Zhang family went to the next room. The clan leader asked, Hang Fu, who is he? The newly promoted giant and elder Lu of the Danliang sect. I plan to follow this elder. In exchange, I come here to settle some karma in the mortal world. Hang Fu said with a smile. Follow a giant and elder. The clan leader was silent and said, is this suitable? It may not be the best choice, but it is the most suitable choice. Hang Fu said, I have 2 spiritual roots, which can be considered a genius, or just a genius. In the Danliang sect, there has never been a shortage of geniuses. With my qualifications, the probability of becoming a foundation building cultivator is 5 layers, and the probability of becoming a purple mansion cultivator is only 1 layer. But now, relying on Elder Lu, there will be a better way out, and a broader path. Leave these to the family. Hang Fu took out a storage bag, which contained Beiyang pills, Jade Emperor pills, healing pills, nourishing key pills, etc., all of which are suitable for key refining cultivators, and a few are suitable for foundation building cultivators, with a value of about more than 10,000 spirit stones. No overly valuable things were given, because they were afraid of bringing disaster to the family. The clan leader looked at these, slightly surprised, and said, "These are given to us. What do you think? My cultivation resources will be provided by the master." Hang Fu said, "There are also 3 foundation building pills and 2 purple mansion pills as compensation to the family, which is considered to cut off the cause and effect. From now on, I will no longer owe the family power, and I belong to the master wholeheartedly. If there is a conflict between the family and the master, I will stand on the side of the master. In addition, if you have some crisis moments, you can go to the fortune peak to ask for help, and I will also help you a little, but it is best to use them with caution. 3 foundation building pills and 2 purple mansion pills, if given to you now, will bring disaster to the family. If there are cultivators who reach that step, they can go to the fortune peak to claim them. Don't use the master and my reputation to do evil in normal times. If you are caught, you will be killed without mercy." Speaking of this, Hang Fu killed a trace of murderous intent, and looked at the clan leader. "Sorry for troubling you," the clan leader said, with reluctance in his eyes, but more of helplessness. "The Zhang family has fallen into decline, and can no longer support a 2nd level spiritual root cultivator, which is why Hang Fu was sent to the Danliang sect. Hang Fu can develop better in the Danliang sect, and has a broad path. Similarly, she can take better care of the family. Now that these elixirs, spiritual stones, etc., as well as foundation building pills, purple mansion pills, etc., have been given to cut off Hang Fu's connection with the Zhang family, from now on, Hang Fu will stand on the side of her master. Of course, if the Zhang family really encounters a crisis or something dangerous, Hang Fu will still help. After all, they are still the clansmen of the past. But how strong the move is depends on her mood. Such things can be troublesome once or twice. When the 3rd time the affection is exhausted, the cause and effect will be completely cut off. As for damaging the interests of the master, to take care of the Zhang family, don't even think about it. Hang Fu stepped forward again, and talked to her father and mother. After talking for a while, she went to the main hall and said, "Master, let's go. Won't you stay a few more days? We are no longer in the same world, and it's enough to give these cares. I can't be a nanny, always looking after everything in the Zhang family," Hang Fu said. Lu Xuanji nodded. The 3 left. After a while, they arrived at the Ning family again. Ningzu entered the house, explained everything, and gave some gifts to the family, to cut off the worldly ties. Then she talked to her parents and said something. Ningzu's parents were both low-level cultivators. One was at the 3rd level of key training, and the other was at the 5th level of key training. They left some elixirs, after saying something to her younger brother and sister. Ningzu also left. When she walked out of the Ning family, Ningzu breathed a sigh of relief. She felt more relaxed than ever. From this moment on, she and Hang Fu both belonged to the master, and the ties with the family were much lighter, and there were fewer causes and effects. When their relatives passed away, after 5 generations, this relationship would be so weak that it would almost not exist. Driving the escape light, the 3 returned to the fortune peak. The round trip only took 1 day, but the 2 maids felt as if they had spent decades. Just then, Master Sun arrived at the mountain. After entering the mountain, he sat down in the hall and said, "Fellow Daoist, the test is about to begin." Chapter 296 Danliang Peak, Danho Artistic Concept. In the hall, Sun Bi Wang said, "Dao, it's time for the assessment. What are the specific contents?" Lu Xuanji asked curiously. "This is a secret place left by the ancestor, Danliang Xianzhen. It was originally used to test disciples, but now it is used to test the level of giant and elders. After all, the level and ability of a giant and elder are not determined by me. You don't have the final say, the assessment has the final say. According to the assessment, there are 3 levels, bronze, silver, and gold. Each level has different benefits. As for the specific situation, I won't say much here. You should go for the assessment." When the time comes, you will understand. Sun Bi Wang said. Okay. Lu Xuanji nodded and stood up. The two maids followed closely behind. In the Danliang sect area, flying in the air is prohibited. You can only move forward with flashing footsteps and urging the escape technique. Keep moving forward, heading northwest. Gradually, a mountain peak is in sight. The mountain is not high, but it has a terrifying aura. There is a stone tablet at the foot of the mountain, and 3 words are engraved on the stone tablet. Danliang Peak. This is the mountain left by the founder of Danliang sect, the god-transforming heavenly venerable. The assessment will be here. When Lu Xuanji arrived here, there were 7 or 8 Chindan standing aside, and some purple mansion monks scattered around. There were many foundation building monks on the periphery. Many monks gathered here densely, looking at the new elder curiously. This is the Lord of the Law Enforcement Hall, Yanfeng. This is the Lord of the Den Hall, Xiaoming. This is the Lord of the Weapon Hall, Yi Changming. This is the Lord of the Merit Hall, Yan Changj. Sect Master Sun opened his mouth and introduced the Chindan monks present. At this moment, there were about 12 people present, except for a few Chindan who were traveling outside, or in seclusion, or guarding special areas, and could not get away. They were all here. On the one hand, he wanted to meet this Chindan elder and get to know each other. Maybe he would need it someday. On the other hand, he wanted to see how this elder Lu performed in the assessment and what kind of token he could get. Different tokens represent different levels and the benefits they bring are also very different. While greeting everyone, Lu Xuanji suddenly saw a familiar figure and stepped forward to bow and said, "Meeting father-in-law." This person was Yi family Chindan, Yi Xuans. Yi Xuans waved his hand and said, "I can't say I'm father-in-law. After all, you and Linglong haven't been married yet." Lu Xuanji said, "You can't say that. After all, you had an engagement at the beginning." Yi Xuans said with a complicated expression, "It's only been a few hundred years since we last met, and you have entered the Chindan stage. Your aptitude is amazing, but it's a pity that you can't be with Linglong." Lu Xuanji said, "Even so, I'm still the son-in-law of the Yi family." The two greeted each other and looked close. After greeting, Lu Xuanji began to climb Danliang Peak and take the assessment. Lu Xuans, however, had a complicated expression and a hint of regret. At that time, Yi Linglong had awakened a special physique and had a promising future. She was also recruited by the Shenshu Palace, and she had the idea of breaking off the engagement. But the Yi family couldn't do that, because if they went back on their word, they couldn't afford to lose that person. So Yi Linglong could only fake her death and leave. Then she went overseas and joined the Shenshu Palace. In the Shenshu Palace, Yi Linglong became a disciple of a Yuanying, and not long ago she advanced to the Chindan stage, which can be said to have a promising future. But Lu Xuanji was not bad either, and he also advanced to the Chindan stage. They were originally a natural pair, but they separated in the end. If the matter was exposed, it would hurt the relationship between the Lu and Yi families. With flashing footsteps, Lu Xuanji began to climb Danliang Peak. When he took 10 steps forward, a stone tablet in front of him suddenly flashed, and a ray of light shone on Lu Xuanji's body. Then, a brilliant light condensed on the stone tablet, and gradually condensed into an old man, with a fairy-like appearance and a graceful aura. Standing there was a majestic aura suppressing him, as if a giant beast was slowly waking up. It was Danliang Xianzhen. This was also the first level. The stone tablet would condense an incarnation of Danliang Xianzhen, and this incarnation was at the same level as the challenger. "Young man, take it." At this moment, this incarnation spoke, punched and killed. The fist was light and seemed to have no great power, but it was extremely powerful when it was thrown, as if an endless fire was burning, destroying everything and tearing everything apart. Lu Xuanji took a deep breath, urged the pure yang true fire, and turned into a ray of light to blast out. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the two sides fought together. Everyone watched with great interest and started gambling with great interest. Sect Master Sun asked, "Fellow Daoists, how long do you think Elder Lu can hold out? How many moves will it take to be defeated?" Elder Yun smiled and said, "The incarnation of the Heavenly Venerable still gives face to the younger generation. In the first 30 moves, He only activated the magical power of the Great Accomplishment Realm. After 30 to 50 moves, the activated skills become the Perfection Realm, but after 50 moves, the magical power contains artistic conception. I bet he will lose in 30 moves. Zhao Changleo smiled and said, 30 moves may not be a problem, but holding out for 40 moves is not a problem. Then I'll bet 50 moves. Fellow Daoist, you're going to lose. That may not be the case. I don't think it will work. 3 pure yang pills. Then I'll give you 2 purple mansion pills. Immediately, the golden pill elders present began to gamble. The stakes were small, just a 3rd grade pill, and the victory was in pleasure. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the two sides fought fast and quickly. After 30 moves, the moves were changing. The incarnation of Danliang Xianzhen's attack became more fierce, the moves became perfect, and the boxing skills became more fierce, tearing everything apart. Lu Xuanji urged a breath, and the aura of his whole body was also bursting out. The Yuanzi heavenly sword was bursting out with the power of the perfect state, and kept moving forward to kill. When this incarnation attacked, his fists kept hitting the Yuanzi heavenly sword like a diamond, making a buzzing sound. It was like forging iron. In the horror of everyone, it reached 50 moves. At the moment of 50 moves, the aura of the incarnation was rising, and he opened his mouth to remind, be careful. I'm going to use the Danho Divine Will. The right hand was changing, and a large tripod appeared in the void. The runes were engraved on the tripod. The runes were like dragons and snakes rising and falling, like ghosts and gods changing, constantly growing, and turning into a 10-foot high tripod, killing from the air. In terms of attack power, it was not very strong, that is, the attack power of the early stage of the golden elixir. But with the blessing of the Danho artistic conception, the power of the cauldron suddenly increased, and the moves seemed to come alive, more vivid and lively. The power increased inexplicably, and evolved into a high-level attack, killing with it. Chapter 297 A Dream of a Lifetime. The huge cauldron of fire fell from the sky, evolving into a terrifying momentum that swept and suppressed. Lu Xuanji activated the Yuanzi heavenly sword, and slashed it with one knife. The sword and the cauldron collided with each other. Crack. With just a crisp sound, the Yuanzi heavenly sword broke, and the cauldron fell directly. Lu Xuanji activated the dragonfly divine form, and quickly changed his body shape in a split second. His body turned, and moved away in an instant. Bang. With a violent sound, the cauldron smashed into nothingness. The incarnation stepped forward, and the cauldron changed, attacking from another angle. The cauldron was like a mountain, destroying all laws. Lu Xuanji activated the pure yang true fire, and the white true fire exuded a scorching color and hit the cauldron, but it could not last for a moment, and the pure yang true fire dissipated, like scattered fireworks. One cauldron breaks all laws. The incarnation kept urging the big cauldron, which attacked one after another, continuously, and could defend and attack, calmly and leisurely. When it lasted for 60 moves, the incarnation did not move, and turned into a stream of starlight and dissipated. It was only because the energy that maintained the incarnation had been almost consumed. Without energy support, the incarnation would automatically dissipate. Especially the last 10 moves, the attack was fierce and the killing was fierce, but the energy consumption was also quite huge. Xianzhen, please show mercy. If we are at the same level, I'm not the opponent at all. Standing in place, Lu Xuanji closed his eyes, thinking about the scene of the battle just now. Recalling the scene of the bloody battle, his mind fluctuated slightly, and he tried to figure out the mystery. In the previous confrontation, Danliang Xianzhen suppressed his own killing moves, and deliberately reduced them a lot in terms of speed and flexibility, and even the intensity of the attack was reduced accordingly. After all, this secret realm is to temper the disciples of later generations, not to simply defeat or abuse them. If it was a life and death battle, he would be killed in less than 10 moves. Unless he used the pure yang broken sword, or activated the flea divine form, or the ant king divine form, there would be a slight chance of winning. Is this the divine will? Any moves, any magical power, will become more powerful under the blessing of the divine will, just like a wooden stick turns into an iron stick in an instant. What the Dandiang Divine Master comprehended was the divine will of Danhuo, using the heavenly fire as fuel to ignite all things and refine the infinite great elixir. There is a terrifying destructive power in the divine will. Xuanji pondered and thought about it, trying to comprehend the divine will. But after thinking for a while, he could not get the point. The divine will is the key to entering the state of transformation. The divine is divine, the mysterious is mysterious, the divine is indescribable, and the wonderful is indescribable. The comprehension of God's will often depends on chance and inspiration. One may understand God's will when fighting a life and death battle. One may understand God's will when watching the sun rise. One may understand God's will when refining the elixir, or one may understand God's will when practicing with a woman. Those who understand will understand without saying anything, and those who don't understand will be confused, no matter how much they say. What a pity. Xuanji stepped forward again, his steps flashing, climbing up the mountain. When he took 10 steps forward, suddenly grey mist rose in front of him, and the power of illusion enveloped him. In an instant, his expression was sluggish, and he entered the illusion. Who am I? I seem to have forgotten something. In a room, Xuanji woke up, his expression a little dazed. He always felt that he seemed to have forgotten something, but when he wanted to recall it, he couldn't remember it. It seemed that everything was clear and vivid in the dream, but when he woke up, he forgot most of it. Since it's a dream, there's no need to think too much. The new year is coming soon, and I have to go home again. My parents are urging me to get married again. I haven't made much money this year, and my life is dull, and there's nothing to say. Xuanji thought, turned on his phone, counted the cash in his bank card, and sighed slightly. Life is not easy, and he sighed. Beep beep. At this moment, the phone rang. Turn on the phone and a voice came. How are you recently? Not bad. How is Linglang recently? Not bad. Xuanji, we are not suitable. How about we break up? Okay. Then let's break up. Xuanji nodded. After hanging up the phone, another girlfriend broke up. It can't be said to be a girlfriend, but a prospective girlfriend. They just had a meal and talked for a while. They didn't say they agreed to be friends, nor did they say they didn't want to be friends. Until this call came, the prospective girlfriend became a stranger. Turn on the phone and delete all the information about Yilinglang. There is no more on questions, WeChat, or the phone book. Everything was cleared to a blank, as if it had never appeared. Another fish ran away from the pond. Xuanji sighed. Opening the WeChat book, there were 25 girls' names on it. They were all potential targets and prospective girlfriends. But now, it has become 24. 24 prospective girlfriends seem a bit too many, but in fact, they are not too many at all. If you don't plant widely, how can you have a harvest? It's not that the boy wants to be a seeking or want to expand the pond, but the fish run away too fast. For the sake of the next generation, in order to let the children have a mother as soon as possible, you must learn to look at the jujube tree. That is, go forward with a pole and knock a few times. If there are jujubes or not, knock a few more times. It's always right. In case you meet a blind fish and decide to settle down in the fish pond, then you will make money. The fish targeted this time is determined to be Yuan. In the photo, she is thin and tall. Open WeChat and start chatting privately. Talking nonsense without nutrition and earthy love words without water. Let's meet. Okay. Where are you? I'm there. Okay, let's meet. Just like that, netizens met. In the coffee shop, a man and a woman sat aside, looking at each other, and Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief. When netizens meet, it is said that they are dead on arrival. Many netizens say that they are beautiful women, but when they meet, they are just greasy uncles. But after meeting, it is found that Yuan is much more beautiful than in the photos. Yuan, I seem to have seen you there. It seems that we were husband and wife in our previous life. Xuanji smiled. He once said similar words to many beauties. When he said these words, he was ready to be hit hard. But the woman opposite nodded and said, on the internet, there is no feeling yet. But when we meet, the sense of familiarity is increasing. Maybe we were really husband and wife in our previous life. A perfect match. Xuanji, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298. We will never forget each other. We will always be together. After we emerge from the cocoon and become butterflies. The scenery in the coffee shop is unique. In front of the window, Xuanji drank coffee and said meaningless love words. These love words were not funny or joyful, but the girl opposite was listening, with a faint smile flashing in the corner of her eyes. She seemed to care a lot, but also seemed to not care. Be my girlfriend, okay? Okay. The girl opposite agreed happily. Xuanji was slightly dazed. Could it be that she wanted to play with his feelings? Who cares? If there is a girl who wants to play with his feelings, then let her play with it as much as she wants. Anyway, in the end, he will not suffer any loss. Just like that, he left in a daze. The first time he met an online friend, he got a girlfriend. It felt a bit like a dream. Patting his face, it hurts a little. This is not a dream. Just like that, love began. After the first contact, they started chatting on the phone, watching movies, and treating each other to dinner. The whole process seemed very clean, without any extra twists and turns. If it were a daily article, it could be filled with hundreds of pages, and many readers would fall asleep. After 3 months, the two of them came close together and kissed each other. This time, he took the initiative. In the dark environment of the cinema, he acted bravely. Before the kiss, he had prepared to be pushed away, and was also prepared to be slapped or punched. In the end, nothing happened. At the moment of kissing, there was a faint mint smell, a fresh smell, and an endless aftertaste. Indulged in it. About 5 seconds later, the two separated. The girl's face was flushed, and she seemed very shy. The feelings were fermenting, and the love was heating up. About a month later, the two got married. From meeting to getting married, it took less than 3 months. It was a bit like a flash marriage. But after just a moment of hesitation, they got married. After marriage, the two began a sweet life, getting sick of each other, and seemed to be a little oblivious, as if they were going to indulge in it, and couldn't extricate themselves. Just 1 year after marriage, his wife gave birth to twins, 2 sons. What are their names? Xuanji asked. Xuanji thought, the eldest is Zion, the second is Yifan. Okay. Xuanji nodded. Xuanji said, the country has recently called for a 3-child policy. Why don't we have another child? This is not good. Having too many children will not be good for your health. Xuanji said calmly, I've seen some reports that having too many children is harmful to women's bodies. Besides, 2 sons are enough. We can't afford 3 sons. This is not decades ago. Times are different, and life is different. In the 1980s and 1990s, the living standards were low, but the cost of raising children was also low, and the cost of raising 3 or 4 children in the village was not high. But now, raising 1 child is enough to spend money, raising 2 children is life-threatening, and 3 children are simply unaffordable. High housing prices, high consumption, etc. One higher than the other, one more expensive than the other, but the salary level has limited increase, and the industry that makes money is decreasing. Don't worry, I still have some savings. Xuanji said calmly. Xuanji was silent. Everything has been good since the marriage. The only bad thing is that his wife is too capable, which makes him feel like a gigolo. This wife was a top student when she was young. She was among the top students in school. Later, she was admitted to a key national university. After graduation, she started her own business with several classmates. Starting a business by yourself is inherently dangerous. 99 out of 100 startups fail, and only 1 succeeds. Fortunately, the company founded by his wife is the survivor. Not only is it a survivor, but it is also developing well. In just less than 2 years, the market valuation is 300 million. Then, it was targeted by a certain internet giant, and became a target for acquisition. In the end, his wife decisively agreed to the acquisition by a certain internet giant. When selling shares and exchanging shares, she received about 20 million in cash and 80 million in stocks. Later, it was a flash marriage. It was not until after the marriage that he knew his wife was so rich. Of course, this kind of wealth is much worse than some top rich people, and even many small rich people are far inferior, but at least they can live middle class life. As long as they don't overspend, they can live a high quality life. Okay, everything is up to you. Xuanji nodded. Life after marriage was peaceful and dull, without pretense, no bad guys doing evil, no mistresses challenging, and no cheating. Life was as quiet as quiet. The two children grew up and started to go to kindergarten. His wife started a new company, and the scale of the company was constantly expanding, and competitors were constantly falling. In just 5 years, it surpassed some companies and entered the Fortune 500. A business giant began to rise, shocking the business world. But all this had nothing to do with him. Xuanji was a little uncomfortable at the beginning, but gradually he got used to it. Just eat soft rice. Eat soft rice. Isn't it good to lie flat? Why work hard? At the moment of the 6th year, Xuanji was vomiting and pregnant. 10 months later, her daughter was born. Looking at the little cotton padded jacket at home, Xuanji was happy and indescribably happy. Xuanji, why did you fall in love with me? Xuanji asked again. Don't you remember? Xuanji asked. Could it be that I have seen you in college? Xuanji asked, but we don't seem to be in the same college. Xuanji smiled and said, I can't say. Xuanji smiled and didn't ask anything. After having a little daughter, even the company's affairs began to be pushed to other partners. At the age of 36, Xuanji retired early. Then, she opened a manor in the mountains and lived a peaceful life. Xuanji personally drove a tractor, harvested corn, sprayed pesticides, took care of the crops in the farmland, and lived a farmer's life. Time is passing, and unknowingly, decades have passed in the blink of an eye. The young man of the past is gradually getting old. The beautiful woman of the past is also gray-haired. On this day, Xuanji fell ill and was dying. Even if he had more money and better medical skills, it would be difficult to save his life. Wanna, I'm leaving. Husband Xuanji said. I have a question. Why did you fall in love with me when we first met? You graduated from a prestigious university, but I come from an ordinary family. You have only graduated for a few years and you have earned tens of millions. My monthly salary is just over 5,000, so I'm just a low-income person. I'm not worthy of you in every aspect, but why did you give up so many people and choose me? Xuanji asked puzzledly. At the beginning, there were countless questions. But gradually, these questions were forgotten. Only at the moment of death, they were remembered. Husband, we were husband and wife in our previous life, and we are still husband and wife in this life. Xuanji said with tears in her eyes. There is a kind of love called never forget each other in life after life, break the cocoon, and become a butterfly forever. We were husband and wife in our previous life, and we are still husband and wife in this life. Even if we experience reincarnation and become strangers after reincarnation, I can still find your trace among thousands of people. I came to this world and searched for you for 25 years, and I finally found you. Chapter 299 God's Will, Endless Red Dust. After saying this, Xuanji's eyes were filled with tears. At this moment, Xuanji took his last breath and died on the spot. Is this my fate? Xuanji stood up and sighed slightly. At this moment, she was originally gray-haired, with wrinkles on her face, and looked old, like an old woman. But at this moment, the white hair turned into long black hair, which fluttered naturally, the wrinkles on her face disappeared, and her body became tall and healthy. Her body was changing, and it became graceful, plump and charming. The clothes on her body were also changing from the decorations of modern women to the appearance of a classical fairy. The surrounding scenes were changing. Houses, buildings, streets, pools, hospitals, villas, etc. all dissipated and turned into nothingness, as if they did not exist. Like a dream bubble, with waking up, the dream was broken. Everything dissipated and turned into nothingness. Only in the void, a grey mist was flickering, as if it was about to evolve into an illusion, but it became powerless and illusory. Is this my fate? Among the billions of living beings, I will find your trace, stay together, and live this life. Xuanji said, tears falling from her eyes. In the fate, she entered the dream world, and she was lost, forgetting everything in her previous life. But there was an obsession in her heart telling her to find someone among the billions of people. She was confused for 25 years, until she met him, the person of her destiny. Although he was very ordinary at that time, so ordinary and inconspicuous, he made her feel excited. Snap. Snap. At this moment, the illusion was completely shattered, and everything dissipated. In the cave, Xuanji opened her eyes. She had survived both the human and fate calamities. Only the heavenly calamity remained. His figure flashed, and he arrived outside the wilderness. The calamity clouds in the sky were gathering. The dark clouds seemed to be crushing the city, as if to destroy everything and annihilate everything. After just 3 breaths, a lightning condensed in the void, turned into a blue lightning, that condensed in the air, turned into a destructive light, and tore down. Xuanji took a step forward, urging the ice soul sword to attack. Boom boom boom. The heavenly calamities came one after another, continuously, tearing everything apart and destroying everything. With the bombardment of the ice soul divine thunder, the heavenly calamities shattered one after another and dissipated. When the last heavenly calamity was shattered, a colorful light fell from the sky, turned into a mysterious force, and entered the body. The cultivation level was rising step by step, the aura was constantly improving, and the barrier that hindered the cultivation level was completely broken. The cultivation level was improving, and it was promoted to the golden core realm in one fell swoop. The mana was improving, and the mana of 35 Jazi was constantly soaring, and it soared to 100 Jazi in one fell swoop. The golden core was completed. After 450 years of hard training, and after going through countless disasters and difficulties, he finally achieved the golden elixir. From then on, he was free and at ease, and his destiny was in his own hands. With a lifespan of 1,000 years, he could dominate the ups and downs of the world and the changes in the world, and could become a small giant. With my destiny and luck, I'm not enough to become a golden elixir. It was my husband who shared some of his luck, and gave me some of his treasures, so that I'm here today. Xuanji calculated with her fingers, and some of the past information was recorded in her soul. Her husband entered the half-step golden elixir, and was in seclusion 30 years later than her, but her husband came out of seclusion 20 years earlier, and achieved the golden elixir. This shows how extraordinary her husband's talent is, how outstanding his luck and opportunity are, and with such an opportunity, her husband should have achieved the golden elixir 100 years earlier. But for the Lu family and for her, he spent too much time and energy, and dispersed many resources. He was 100 years late, before he achieved the golden elixir. Daniyang sect. Daniyang peak, halfway up the mountain. Lu Xuanji opened his eyes, and everything that happened in the dream came to his mind. Memories came like a tide, and he lived a lifetime in the dream. In the real world, he only breathed 7 times, but in the dream he lived for 70 years, a mortal life. In the dream, he had a rich girlfriend, and then lived a shameless and happy life. Everything in the dream was really beautiful. It's a pity, dreams are just dreams. Why in reality, there are no beautiful women to support me? Why in reality, I can't eat soft rice? Thinking of this, Lu Xuanji laughed. His expression was less cold in the past, and there was a hint of worldly breath. Life became fresh, with a touch of new spiritual touch, less worldly seeking, and a sense of transcendence. After a long period of seclusion and hard training, he was still high and mighty, even when he went outside. After being high and mighty for a long time, he became somewhat ignorant of the mundane world and the changes in the world. His emotions were gradually dissipating, and he became rational and gradually assimilated by the great Dao, approaching the supreme forgetfulness. But at this moment, he had a touch of humanity. Boom boom boom. Lu Xuanji punched out, and the void was making a sound. His breath was stirring, and his mind was transforming, just like a chick about to hatch from an egg. Swish. A leaf fell from the void, with a hint of melancholy. Snap. The next moment his mind was excited, and a trace of divine will emerged. Although it was weak, it was full of vitality, with infinite good fortune and infinite possibilities. Endless red dust, this was the divine will he understood. by urging the divine will and blessing the magic power of creation. The originally grey magic power has a little more vividness, turning into colorful colors, and a little more freshness, as if the rigid magic power has been forcibly transformed into a living creature. It's like a zombie's corpse has become a living person. The magic power is blessed by the divine will, and the attack power is more powerful and the killing is more amazing. Imagine that two cultivators were originally evenly matched, but suddenly someone entered a burst state, and the mana attack power increased, which may quickly determine life and death. It's just urging the divine will, and it's also digesting his mental power. Xuanji estimated that with his current mental power, he could only last for 10 breaths at most, by urging the divine will, endless red dust. It's okay for a short burst, it can be used as a trump card, and it can be used for a protracted war, but conventional tactics are not good enough. Thank you, senior, Xuanji said respectfully, and continued to walk towards the mountain. As he walked, a stone tablet appeared in front of him. There were 3 words engraved on the stone tablet, Monument of Years, and below them were some small words. 1 step makes you 1 year older, 100 steps makes you 100 years older. If you lose 100 years of life, you will gain something. After hesitating for a moment, Xuanji took a step forward and suddenly felt that his life was slipping away, and a year of his life disappeared. He took another step forward, and another year of his life disappeared. Chapter 300 Golden Token. Swish. Xuanji walked forward, 1 step after another. Every step forward meant the loss of 1 year of life. When he took 10 steps forward, he had already lost 10 years of life. At this moment, the voice of sect leader Sun came. Dao, stop. Why? Xuanji asked. Sect leader Sun said, once there was a cultivator who climbed the mountain, but the price was the loss of 100 years of life. It's not worth it to get a golden token. But I'm still curious, what do you get, and what do you lose by climbing the mountain? I don't care about a mere 100 years of life, Xuanji said. His words were free and easy. After entering the golden elixir, his lifespan increased to 1,200 years, and he still had almost 700 years of life. He didn't care much about a mere 100 years. Swish, swish. Xuanji walked forward, 1 step at a time, and every step forward meant the loss of 1 year of life. When he reached the top of the mountain, it was exactly 100 steps, and he lost 100 years of life. Standing on the top of the mountain, there was a palace on the top, which was the Danliang Palace. When he stepped in front of the palace, the door opened automatically. Entering the main hall, there is a statue enshrined inside, with an immortal look, a noble aura, and a hint of charm. It's just a statue, but the aura it exudes makes the giant and cultivator stand in awe. This is Danliang Xianzhen, a powerful person who has reached the state of transformation. Looking at this ancestor, Xuanji stood in awe. The giant, who has been immortal for thousands of years, is called the ancestor by the world. Yuan Ying's engine is an old monster, a dragon that can only be seen from head to tail, and Huashan Xianzhen is a myth. Only legends have been heard, but the real person has never been seen. In front of a statue of Huashan Xianzhen, any respect is not excessive. He went forward and lit 3 incense sticks and inserted them into the incense burner. Swish. At this moment, a light flashed on the statue, and then a golden token flew out and landed in front of him. At the same time, a voice came. Join my Danliang sect. My Danliang sect is your backer. This token can save your life. Then the statue returned to calm. Xuanji held the golden token, and suddenly some information about the golden token was also sensed by him. In this golden token, a spell of Danliang Xianzhen, Void Great Teleportation, is sealed. When the golden token is activated, this spell can be activated to help the cultivator break the spell confinement, teleport to a place 100,000 miles away in an instant, and escape. Holding this token is equivalent to having a life. Even if the incarnation of the spirit takes action, the token can be used to save life. The golden token is also called the disciple token. With this token, you can participate in the assessment of Danliang Xianzhen and be qualified to become his disciple. Refining this token with a drop of blood and storing it in the danshan. Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief. This Danliang Xianzhen is indeed generous and generous. With flashing steps, He was about to go down the mountain, but suddenly thought of something, and sat directly on the top of the mountain, and began to comprehend. One step takes away a year of life, and 100 steps take away 100 years of life. It can be seen that there is a time type formation or a life type formation engraved on the top of the mountain, which can take away his life in a moment. If you can comprehend and understand this formation, even if you only comprehend a little bit, it will be a huge gain. Compared to these, the golden token is just a small matter. Elder Lu also found it. Elder Lu is also comprehending. It's a pity that the time array is engraved on the top of the mountain. It is too difficult to comprehend it. Some people have been comprehending for 10 years, but they can't understand it at all. Many giant and elders watched this scene and left without saying anything. There are 3 tests on Danliang Peak. The first test is to evolve into an incarnation and fight. The second test is based on the state of mind of the cultivator and evolve an illusion to help young cultivators comprehend the state of mind. The third test is that 1 step will pass a year and 100 steps will pass 100 years of life. It is called a test, but in fact it is a supreme benefit for top cultivators. The first 2 tests were set up by Danliang Xianzhen, but the last test was obtained by Danliang Xianzhen from a relic. Especially the third test, which involves the time array, is very attractive to cultivators. Space is king, time is supreme. The magical powers, spells, magic weapons, or formations related to time, are all above ordinary items. If you can comprehend them, it will be of great benefit to the cultivators. Unfortunately, countless cultivators came here with great enthusiasm, comprehended for several years, decades, or even hundreds of years, but did not gain anything. Gradually, many cultivators gave up. After a while, everyone dispersed under the mountain. Only Lu Xuanji stayed here. He walked around and began to measure the mountain. In particular, he observed the years monument and wanted to sense the time formation. The result was that there was no use, no perception, no discovery, and of course, no loss of life. 1 step will reduce 1 year of life, and 100 steps will reduce 100 years of life. But after 100 years of life, you can walk freely on the mountain without any loss of life. It seems that after 100 years of life, you can gain the right to walk on the mountain. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. After comprehending for a long time, there was no understanding. It seems a little bit worse. Lu Xuanji shook his head and turned to leave, but he suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but stop. He suddenly thought of a supreme magical power, great 5-element yin yang yuan magnetism universe starlight extinction divine sword, which was the strongest attacking magical power he had ever encountered, without a doubt. Many supreme magical powers, in terms of attack power, were far inferior to it. In this magical power, the power of the 5-element, the power of yin and yang, the power of the yuan magnetism, the power of time, the power of space, the power of the stars, the power of extinction, etc. were involved. The complexity was enough to make his scalp numb. Up to now, Lu Xuanji only controlled the castrated version of this magical power, 5-element yin yang yuan magnetism divine sword, but just the castrated version has reached the level of supreme magical power. In this magical power, Zhao represents the power of time. However, in this magical power, the power of time is more manifested in killing. In fact, the power of time is more than just for killing. Thinking of this, Lu Xuanji sensed the mobile phone and the sea of consciousness, and turned on the phone. The mobile phone recorded the method of practicing this magical power. This magical power involves the law of cause and effect, which will make the cultivator subconsciously forget. Lu Xuanji has forgotten the method of practicing this magical power. Fortunately, the mobile phone avoids the law of cause and effect and records the method of practicing this magical power. It doesn't matter if Lu Xuanji forgets it, but as long as he reads it frequently, he can understand the content. Ignore other contents and directly lock on a certain chapter. Knife of Time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.